Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our City Council meeting. I'd ask that you adhere to the ground rules posted above when you come and speak to us. I'd like to welcome you, but I also would like to honor our fire and our staff with LCPD. Thank you for all that you do to protect the city. And if you will, would you please stand so we can say the pledge? Councilor Curran.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Hi, Jennifer. Oh, for a minute there, I thought you had a dog.
So did I.
Which would be great.
Yes,
Although at one time we did that many years ago and we had some accidents, so we had to stop.
I would love to be able to bring them in here, but our photos will have to do.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. I'm Jennifer Martinez with the city's communications office, and today we have some new pets that could potentially be your new family members.
Oh.
We have Jello, the 5-year-old gray tabby, who is as sweet as can be. Jello starts turning on the charm the minute she knows you're even looking at her. She brushes up against you and starts giving you headbutts. She has so much love and can't wait to give that love to a forever family. You can see her smiling there on the bottom photo with teeth. She's so excited to meet you. And then we have Sausage. I can't imagine that the person who named these wasn't hungry at the time that they named them. This guy is a year only, and he is just so anxious to get out of the center and into a forever home. He is very excited and needs to burn off some energy, and afterward he can settle down quite well. Sausage is very friendly with other dogs, but is not the biggest fan of cats, so he is currently hoping for a cat-free home. If you're interested in adoption, you can contact the ASCMV at the number there on your screen, 3820018. And if you go ahead and look at the animal numbers in these two, that way you can get quicker access to them. For Jello, it's 45545, and for Sausage, 51845. There is also an adoption event that's going on this Saturday, January 21st at 315 South Telshore Boulevard. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm hearing a theme, Jennifer, with Jello and Sausage. So those of you, please look and consider adding these animals to your home. We have so many that are awaiting adoption. So thanks, Jennifer. Next up, Amanda Tapia. Hi, Amanda.
Hello,
Welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I am glad to be here. My name is Amanda Tapia. I am with New Mexico Workforce Connection, and I'm going to be presenting the jobs of the week. So currently, the City of Las Cruces has Director, Parks and Recreation position available. White Sands Missile Range has a General Engineer position available. CD General Contractors Incorporated has one roofer position available. Chicanos por la Casa has one evaluation data analysis position available. U.S. Renal Care Incorporated has one dialysis clinical coordinator position available. And First National Bank Texas has one bilingual personal banker available. For more information on these openings and many, many more, you can reach out to the New Mexico Workforce Connection Office by phone, by our office, as well as our website at www.employnm.com. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amanda. We have some great positions available here in the city. Thank you. Now, next up is our proclamations. Thank you, Councilor Curran, for being ready here.
Thank you very much. First, I'd like to invite up Dr. Bobby Green. Is Dr. Green here? Or someone from the NAACP? All right. Not seeing anyone coming up. I will read this. This is a proclamation for MLK Day. Whereas the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. has left an indelible mark on our country, and whereas even as we celebrate MLK Day, we recognize that Dr. King's dream of a just society has not yet been fully realized. Gun violence and unprecedented mass shootings have compromised our lives, our liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas the current climate of social unrest affords us the opportunity to defer to the wisdom and guidance of slain civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And whereas, as we celebrate MLK Day, we have the opportunity to increase the awareness of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s 6 principles of nonviolence. And whereas Dr. King's principles of nonviolence states that nonviolence is a way of life for courageous people. Nonviolence seeks to win friendship and understanding. Nonviolence seeks to defeat injustice, not people. Nonviolence holds that suffering can educate and transform. Nonviolence recommends that we choose love instead of hate, and that nonviolence suggests that the universe is on the side of justice, and with a deep faith, justice will eventually win. And whereas the Doña Ana County NAACP and the City of Las Cruces acknowledge the importance of Dr. King's 6 principles of nonviolence and the value of working together for the benefit of all citizens. Just curious, no one's here to hear this. Now, therefore, we, the Mayor and City Council of Las Cruces, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim Monday, January 16th, 2023, as MLK Day in Las Cruces, and encourage all of our citizens to unite in solidarity and to practice Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s principles of nonviolence in our own lives. Next up, I think Victoria Tafoya and Michelle Gutierrez are here. I'm looking out for, all right, awesome. Please come up. Thank you so much. You can come up here.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'll read the proclamation and then you can hopefully speak, please. This is a presentation for the National Day of Racial Healing. Whereas the City of Las Cruces affirms that all people, regardless of their racial, ethnic, and religious group identification, skin color, or physical traits, deserve an equal opportunity to experience well-being in a just society and be full participants in our democracy, we acknowledge that we must work to address historic and present-day harms of racism, heal the wounds created by racial, ethnic, and religious bias, and build communities where all children can reach their full potential and thrive. And whereas all children have the right to safety, dignity, and humanity, and must be provided every opportunity to grow, learn, flourish in a nurturing environment. And whereas every individual possesses the ability to learn, grow, and change, and builds communities of accountability, care, and collective action. And whereas if we all dedicate ourselves to a process that brings individuals and communities to wholeness, repairs the damage caused by racism, and transforms societal structures into ones that affirm the inherent value of all people, we can bring about the necessary changes in thinking and behavior that will propel this great country forward as a society where everyone belongs. And whereas racial healing is a vital and crucial commitment to the educational, social, and mental, as well as overall well-being of all of our children. And whereas the City of Las Cruces, in conjunction with others throughout the United States of America and across the globe, acknowledge the Tuesday following Martin Luther King Day today as the National Day of Racial Healing, and urges all citizens to promote racial healing and transformation, individually and collectively, as a means of working together to ensure the best quality of life for every child. Now, therefore, we, the Mayor and City Council of Las Cruces, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, January 17th, 2023, as a National Day of Racial Healing in Las Cruces, and encourage our citizens to promote racial healing and transformation, individually and collectively, as a means of working together to ensure the best quality of life for every child. So, thank you for being here. I hope that we can take pictures, and then we'll have you say something.
Good afternoon, City of Las Cruces Council members. My name is Michelle Gutierrez, and I'm a Senior Program Officer for the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. On behalf of the Foundation, I'd like to thank Mayor Miyagi-Shima, each of you, and the City of Las Cruces for commemorating this important day. The National Day of Racial Healing is more than a day for us at the Kellogg Foundation, and for our communities and children that live in them. We promote racial equity and healing as core strategies for achieving our mission and vision on behalf of children, families, and communities throughout the country and right here in Las Cruces. Our efforts and investments are guided by the belief that all children deserve an equitable opportunity to grow, learn, and thrive. Now in its 7th year, the National Day of Racial Healing provides an opportunity for individuals, communities, and organizations to come together and acknowledge the values we share as people, to build trust in each other, to develop authentic relationships, and to inspire collective action on how we heal from the effects of racism. Healing events are taking place in communities across the country and also right here in Las Cruces, led by the Learning Action Buffet, with the goal of creating a more just and equitable future for our children. I invite you to join us. Thank you, counselors, for your support in honoring the National Day of Racial Healing in Las Cruces. Gracias.
Thank you. Next up, I'd like to invite Wendy Drake to come up for Catholic Schools Week. Or you all right? All right. Yes, please. We'll do the. Thank you for being here. As a Catholic school person who went to Catholic school, I'm delighted to have the opportunity to read this. Whereas the City of Las Cruces is witness to the consolidation of 2 Las Cruces Catholic schools in order to further promote excellence and better serve the community, and whereas the Catholic schools challenge their students to achieve high academic standards, to live the gospel message and work for social justice, and whereas the City of Las Cruces is highly dependent upon a well-educated and caring citizenry, which these schools consistently produce, and whereas the City of Las Cruces is proud of its citizens who are students and alumni and wishes to honor the Catholic schools for their educational excellence and contributions to the community. Now, therefore, we, the Mayor and City Council of Las Cruces, New Mexico, hereby proclaim the week of January 29th through February 4th, 2023 as Celebrate Catholic Schools Week in Las Cruces, and call upon our citizens to salute local institutions and express appreciation for the dedication with which the students, parents, faculty, staff, and administration approach their responsibilities. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Adrian Galaz. I'm the school principal for Las Cruces Catholic School. Mrs. Wendy Drake, who was not able to attend, is the co-principal of the school, and this is Sister Mavis, who's joining me. And I just want, on behalf of the school, I want to thank the mayor, all council members, all of you leaders for our community for taking this time to recognize our school in the upcoming Catholic Schools Week. And just for people that may not be aware of us, we are a preschool through 8th grade school. It is a Catholic school, but we're open to all denominations, all faiths, and we're just really proud of the hard work our teachers are and the support that we get from our parents. I'm happy to say that actually just today we enrolled some new families into our school, and for the first time in the past 7 years, my 5th year as principal there, we're above 300 students, which is a pretty big deal for our small community, but we're definitely seeing an increase of enrollment. So. Our job as administrators and educators for this school is just try to make the school more accessible. It is tuition-based. It costs money to attend the private schools. And not all of our families are the well-to-do families, but they are able to reap the benefits of scholarships and donors and things like that. So we just wanted to make the school more accessible to more families in our community, again, to any denominations, and to give them that strong foundation before they go off to the local high schools. So once again, thank you for recognizing us, and thank you for your support.
Now I'd like to welcome up Beth Hoffman. For National Youth Mentoring Month. Thanks for coming up. Thank you for being here. Whereas January 2023 will mark the 21st anniversary of National Mentoring Month, an annual campaign to focus attention on the need for mentors, as well as how each of us can work together to increase the number of mentors to ensure positive outcomes for our young people. And whereas Las Cruces, New Mexico, Doña County honors volunteer mentors who support young people by showing up for them every day and demonstrating their commitment by helping them thrive. And whereas mentoring programs like Boys and Girls Club of Las Cruces, Big Brothers Big Sisters, AmeriCorps, Kids Can, Community Action Agency make our communities safe and state stronger by driving impactful relationships that increase social capital for young people and provide invaluable support networks. And whereas during the COVID-19 pandemic, mentoring programs have stepped up to fill gaps for young people and families, connecting them with resources and ensuring that mentoring relationships continue virtually to ensure that physical distancing does not mean social disconnection. And whereas mentoring plays a pivotal role in career exploration and supports workplace skills by helping young people set career goals, equipping mentors with the skills needed to support the professional growth of young people, and drives positive outcomes for young people and businesses. And whereas quality mentoring promotes healthy relationships and communication, positive self-esteem, emotional well-being, and growth of a young person in their relationship with other adults. And whereas students who meet regularly with their mentors are more than 52% less likely than their peers to skip a day of school, and youth who face an opportunity gap but have a mentor are 55% more likely to be enrolled in college than those who did not have a mentor. And whereas youth who meet regularly with their mentors are 46% less likely than their peers to start using drugs and 27% less likely to start drinking. And whereas almost half of today's young adults report having a mentor in their youth, and those rates appear to have been rising steadily over the past several decades. And whereas National Mentoring Month is the time of year to celebrate, elevate, and encourage mentoring across our state and recruit caring adult mentors in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and Doña County. Now, therefore, we, the Mayor and City Council of Las Cruces, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim the month of January 2023 as National Youth Mentoring Month.
Hi, everybody. I'm Beth Hoffman. I'm the Senior Director for Big Brothers Big Sisters, Southwest New Mexico. Thank you for having us today, and thank you to the council members and the mayor for recognizing January as National Mentoring Month in Las Cruces. We, at Big Brothers Big Sisters, we recognize every January as National Mentoring Month, and we try to do a lot of extra special things for our matches during January. So this means a lot to us, and I know I speak on behalf of all of my colleagues and all of the other youth mentoring programs in Las Cruces when I say, you know, our kids are still recovering from all that missed time in school, and our kids need you. So if you have the time and ability to give even just a few hours a month at any one of our programs, we'd love to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Next up, we have a presentation on No Minor Sales by Kat. Is she here?
I think you sent in your presentation, right?
Yes, I did.
All right. Are you ready to go?
Yes,
All right, when you stand up here, please say your name and go from there.
I'll get started and you guys can go. Hello, my name's Andrea McNeely. I'm the No Minor Sale campaign manager. And I just want to thank you all so much for your time to listen to our presentation. I have two of our youth advocates here who will actually be leading the presentation. So thank you so much for your time. I'm going to have them introduce themselves and they'll get started with the presentation. So thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Kat Thire. I am currently a senior at Arrowhead Park Early College High School, and this is my third year at involvement and my second year on their leadership team.
Hello, my name is Diego Romero. I am a junior at Arrowhead Park Early College High School, and I've been in involvement for 2 years.
No Minor, No Minor Sale is a educational and advocacy campaign trying to reduce the illegal sale of nicotine products to minors. No Minor Sale is mainly concerned with the flavored products, including cotton candy, sweets, fruits, mint, and methanol.
So we have 3 campaign objectives. One is to increase awareness of the problem with illegal nicotine product sales and access to minors and of flavored nicotine products. 2 is to generate strong concern statewide, and 3 is to build support for nicotine flavor restrictions.
So the way that we work towards these objectives is by advocating 2 groups in support of No Minor Sale. The first group is Evolvement, which is a national award-winning youth movement where high school students are trained to become youth advocates. And the second group is our adult volunteer program, which is open for anyone over the age of 18. And both groups are able to support the campaign through events and presentations, educating New Mexico about the dangers of tobacco products and flavored nicotine products, and they're funded by the New Mexico Department of Health's Nicotine Youth Prevention and Control Program.
We also want to clarify that No Minor Sale is focused on preventing youth commercial tobacco use and not traditional tobacco use. Commercial tobacco products are mass-produced and contain high levels of additive nicotine, whereas traditional tobacco is used in ceremonies within our tribes for healing, prayer, and offerings.
So I personally care about protecting youth from the dangers of nicotine products because I have a little brother who is currently a freshman in high school, and I worry that he will go into the wrong group if he starts using tobacco products, and I would rather him focus on his education and his health rather than something that is not safe for his health.
Do we say? Yeah. Okay. So I also care about protecting youth from the danger of nicotine products because they are our future of our whole country and the whole world, and without them, our world won't really end up anything.
So, of those who have tried vaping, 79% of youth ages 12 to 17 and 89% of adults ages from 18 to 24 stated that they use these products because it came in flavors that they liked. Fruits and candies and flavored e-cigarettes, teens are 3 times more likely to use, and these products are easily accessible to youth, people, and with over 15,000 flavored nicotine liquids available, there is something for everyone. So,
The next slide. Okay. So, and with that comes to flavors, the tobacco industry has used the targeted marketing towards specific minority groups. For instance, the majority of U.S. youth smokers who use combustible cigarettes, specifically smoke menthol cigarettes, and black youth are much more likely to be I can't think of words to use menthol cigarettes, sorry. Yeah, I guess.
So one way we can help stop the issue is at local levels is through the repeal of the preemption, which is currently being discussed. With preemption, not only is New Mexico, but Las Cruces is restricted on passing a flavor restriction policy. This means policy change can only happen at the federal level, which takes a significant amount of time.
No, okay. So if preemption were to be repealed, this would put the power back into our hands and allow localities to pass a flavor restriction policy on their own. Supporting preemption repeal means communities such as Las Cruces can make change happen and be a part of the solution.
This is also yours, Dave.
See.
So we can take action, as your local elected officials support no minor sales. So the next slide. So the best way to show support for the No Minor Sale campaign are by supporting tobacco preemption repeals and by signing a local elected official support card. So at this time, if you have received a No Minor Sales card, I would like for you guys to sign it if you guys like. And is there any questions?
Thank you so much, Kat and Diego. Appreciate hearing and being more aware of this issue. And I think Councillor Flores has a question for you.
Thank you again, Kat and Diego, for your presentation. It was very educational. Did I hear you say that there's a federal law that we're concerned about, as well as a New Mexico law, or is it just a law in New Mexico where we're preempted? If you don't know, I can research it. It's okay.
That's fine. So the main issue at the moment is that there is preemption in New
Will
Mexico.
you state your name again
Oh, yes,
for
I'm
the
so
record,
sorry.
please? Thank you.
Oh, yes. My name is Andrea McNeely, No Minor Sale Campaign Manager. So the main issue at the moment is that there is preemption in the state of New Mexico. So we're trying to get it repealed so that we can ultimately decide if we would like to pass a flavor restriction policy on our own. So if it was to be repealed, Las Cruces could take that issue into their own hands and pass the policy.
Okay, but there isn't a federal preemption?
I don't believe so. There are certain states that are able to pass policies on their own, just not New Mexico and other states.
So you're asking the city to work on behalf of this issue to eliminate the preemption law that we have?
Yeah, so we're asking if you would support preemption repeal. That would be on your own. No Minor Sale is not focused on trying to go after that policy, but that is something that would be helpful in allowing a flavor restriction policy to be passed at some point. So that is an issue that if you could support, that would be great.
Well, I personally support it. I hope
Awesome.
my colleagues do too. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Flores. Yes, Councillor Abeta.
Yes, thank you. On this card, we have the logo for the New Mexico Department of Health. Are you working in conjunction then, and are they supportive?
Sorry, once again, Andrea McNeely, No Minor Sale Campaign Manager. So actually, we are funded by the New Mexico Department of Health. So yes, they would definitely support this.
Thank you, and thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Councillor Abeta. Councillor Bengomo.
Thank you. I just wanted to say to the two of you that you did a really great job today. I think public speaking is incredible, difficult skill to hone in, and you all have done it already. So congratulations, you're doing a great job.
Thanks.
Thank you. I think that concludes the questions here. Do you want to pick up the cards now, or?
Collect them now, otherwise we'll forget.
Madam Chair, I think they have to go to Christine first.
Do they? Oh, they do?
Pass them down to Christine.
Well. Today is the 17th. Oops, 23. Let me just sign it.
Again, thank you so much for being here and for presenting this really important issue. And will you come back and let us know how it is going at the legislative session and which bill, I'm assuming there will be a bill.
Andrea McNeely. Yes, I believe that for this legislative session, there's not a specific bill focused on flavor restriction, but it is something that we're discussing with legislators, and hopefully, we're hoping that in the coming years, we'll be able to get that.
Got it. Okay. Very good. Yes, Councillor Flores has.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Andrea, I have one more question.
Yes.
So in terms of doing your lobbying work with the state legislature, are you presenting facts about how bad tobacco is? I mean, tobacco itself is carcinogenic.
Yes.
So you're doing all the medical stuff.
Yeah, so as far as No Minor Cell goes, we're an educational and advocacy campaign. Our main goal is to educate. We do have lobbyists who work with the New Mexico Department of Health that actually try to push policies, but for us, we're just going to educate and, yes, explain how dangerous the
Great.
products
Thank you
are.
so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Flores. Okay, thanks so much again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That concludes our portion of the proclamations and presentations. Next up, is anybody on City Council, staff, or administration have a known conflict with any item on the agenda?
None.
None.
None, Gandara. Seeing none. On to public participation.
Mayor Pro Tem, just Councilor Graham's mic doesn't work.
It's not working, Councilor Graham?
Oh, there we go.
Here.
I have to make the same joke
It
every
wasn't
time that I've
plugged
been
in.
recalled.
Okay, good.
Also none on the
Thank you.
conflict.
Thank you, Councilor Graham. Okay, next up is our public participation. I will start on my left, and I don't see anybody on the first, second, or third row. Fourth row? Anybody? Fourth row? Fifth row? How about sixth row?
Mayor Pro Tem, Council, I believe, Juan Garcia, I believe proposed resolution 2387 to help small businesses recover financial losses as a result of violent, destructive attacks by the Las Cruces crime element incurred through no fault of their own should be approved. It's just interesting that we just heard a proclamation against violence, yet violence continues against small businesses unabated. Since I started involvement with small businesses about 2 months ago, there have been over 25 businesses that I have met that have been attacked. This to include an attack at the Sierra Vista Community Church, setting fire to the old La Fuente restaurant. Nothing and no one is sacred. I sat with Moses at the Rip Smoke Shop yesterday on El Paseo, where they experienced their second break-in in about 7 months. 3 young, recent high school graduates, early 20s, who opened a business to hire citizens, give back to the community, have now suffered about $7,000 worth of damage. $7,000. They just opened. They have not been able to recover or make any money, in large part due to this debt. Same old story, suck it up or else close up shop. That's the price of doing business in a community that has no support from the state elected officials to enact laws that will deter. And I'm quoting this from the gentleman. Las Cruces is billed as a business-friendly city, so why is this issue not fixed? Jorge, a Hispanic individual trying to make a living through small auto repair, he told me, and I quote, "Me robaron mi camioneta con toda mi herramienta para trabajar. No sé cómo le voy a hacer para trabajar. They stole my truck with my tools. I don't know how I'm going to work." This and many other hardworking citizens that are trying to bring themselves out of poverty on their own, not through handouts. During the pre-legislative meetings, I brought up crime. Senator Steinborn, Representative Ferrari, no engagement. Rubio is concerned about, quote, police brutality and reform. Representative Small indicated there may be money for more policing. Until the victims organize and remove elected officials that care more for criminals than hardworking citizens, nothing will change. Because property crime, just like illegal immigration, sexualization of our kids, is being normalized. It is going to get to the point that politicians feel that if you continue to ignore it, it will just go away and people will forget about it. But they won't. There's a lot of upset people out here in this community that are not happy with the way things are going. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. 7th row.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council. My name is Sarah Smith. I really appreciate that your agenda today includes the item that is working towards helping small businesses with their property crime expenses. At your last meeting, you voted to move forward on a pilot program to implement hygiene stations where homeless people can use the restroom, dispose of used drug needles, and potentially shower. I understand that the specific details, such as the locations, the equipment, and the cost for this program are not yet known. And I ask that once the city has developed a plan for this, the people of the city are given a chance to provide input before the hygiene stations are implemented. The city of Seattle previously tried having similar public toilets over a decade ago. These were intended to help the homeless population and others, but Seattle abandoned this initiative after the toilets became, quote, a haven for drug deals, drug and alcohol use, and prostitution. Seattle spent $5 million on these toilets, and according to the New York Times, quote, the bathrooms had become so filthy, so overrun with drug abusers and prostitutes, that although use was free of charge, even some of the city's most destitute people refused to step inside them. Users left so much trash behind that the automated floor scrubbers had to be disabled, and prostitutes and drug users found privacy behind the toilet's locked doors. Seattle ended up selling their toilets on eBay for only a few $1,000s at a huge loss to the city. I'm concerned that the hygiene stations in Las Cruces could end up having the same issues they faced in Seattle. It seems also unlikely that people are going to travel long distances in order to use the hygiene stations. So I wonder whether they will be able to really make much of an impact on the dirty needles and the feces and the urine that's being found around the city. If the hygiene stations do end up being used a lot, there's a potential for people to be congregating in the nearby areas. Like the Desert Hope homeless housing project, there's the potential for the hygiene stations to increase other problems in the nearby neighborhoods and businesses, such as harassment, trespassing, aggressive panhandling, and property damage. If the city moves forward with implementing hygiene stations, it will be important to assess the level of crime and disturbance in the nearby areas before and after the hygiene stations are put into place, so that we can actually tell whether these are having a positive impact on the community as a whole. Overall, I'm concerned that the policies being implemented by the city may be making it easy or enticing for people to continue their self-destructive drug abuse behaviors. It feels like the city is inadvertently making it easy to be a drug addict, such as through funding organizations that provide food and shelter regardless of whether people are using illegal drugs, having no real consequences for people who are repeatedly committing crimes in the city, and now tacitly supporting illegal drug use by providing containers in which to collect dirty needles. Las Cruces' children, families, and businesses are counting on you to make our community a safe place to live and work. But over the last years, we have watched as things have gotten worse and worse. Please be willing to consider that the hygiene stations and other recent policies may actually make the situation worse.
Thank you, Ms. Smith.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that was 8th row, 9th row. Anybody on this side? Did I capture everybody? Okay. Next, first, second row. Third row, I think that's staff. Fourth, I'm not wearing my glasses, so. Sir, do you have something to? Okay. Fifth row, sixth, seventh. Anybody on this side? No? Okay, that will conclude public comment. I need, let's see, we're on to motion to accept the agenda, but we will need to remove item 7.6 in its entirety. And so we will need a motion that reflects that, please.
So moved by Flores.
Motion made by Councillor Flores. Do I have a second?
Second, Graham.
Second by Councillor Graham. Christine.
This is on the motion to accept the agenda as presented with removal of item 7.6 in its entirety. Councillor Beta?
Yes.
Councillor Graham?
Yes.
Councillor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councillor Cran? Oh. Yes, I heard you.
Yes.
Councillor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And the mayor is absent.
Thank you, Christine. Okay. Put myself together here. All right, we are on 7.1.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Councillor Graham, second by, was that Councillor Bencomo? Okay. Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to everyone. Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, City Management, and others listening. My name is Lisa LaRocque. I'm the Sustainability Officer for the City of Las Cruces. I'm here today to talk about a resolution to support legislative actions that advance sustainability and climate change. The City of Las Cruces is a member of the Coalition of Sustainable Communities of New Mexico. And this coalition is a nonprofit, nonpartisan group that is representing and serving New Mexico cities, counties, pueblos, nations, and tribes. Currently, the members include the City and County of Taos, the City and County of Santa Fe, Los Alamos, Albuquerque, and Las Cruces, which is about 40% of the state's population. The coalition is committed to developing common understanding and aligning interests and working together to amplify voices. And for this reason, for the past 4 years, the coalition has done research about state bills related to sustainability and climate change. And each member can present the bills to their council or commission for consideration through a resolution. And with an approved resolution, the coalition serves as an advocate for members that support these bills in Santa Fe. So today I'm here to present some different bills that the that the coalition has researched. The first bill that I'd like to talk about is local choice energy. And what this bill does is it disaggregates generation of energy from the distribution and transmission of energy. And this allows municipalities the option to choose their electricity generation sources and lower the cost to customers. And this is a big benefit for Las Cruces Utilities, who's working on their energy transition plan, because it will allow them more opportunities to pursue energy generation. The second bill is the geothermal energy development and tax credit. This is another form of clean energy, geothermal energy, and it already exists, and what they want to do is extend, the program already exists, and what they want to do is extend the tax credits through 2033. It also supports the installation of geothermal heat pumps, which are similar to the ones that the City Hall has right now. The third bill is the electric vehicle and charging unit tax credits. And this is proposes personal income tax credits in addition to what the federal tax credits are. So you can get up to $3,250 for EVs that have a suggested retail value of less than $55,000. So it's meant to make EVs a little bit more accessible. There's also the $7,500 one that the federal government offers. And there's also $300 for chargers in addition to the El Paso Electric Rebate Program. And now if you register a vehicle that's an EV, you pay $54 for registration and $27 if you have a plug-in hybrid. The fourth one is the Distribution Energy Generation Act, and what that does is it encourages the renewable portfolio standard that is part of the Renewable Energy Act to increase the amount of distributed solar energy. So you have it on your building or you have it through local sources. And the advantage of that is that it increases on-site and local solar generation, and that reduces loads on the system and load loss, system loss. So it's better to have it closer to the site, and it increases the ability for independence for everybody. The bills that have asterisks by them are ones that were previously presented to the council in prior legislative years that were supported. The second cluster of bills that I'm going to talk about is the Climate Action Plan. And this was implemented, this implements the governor's Executive Order Number 3 on climate change action. It's even more ambitious than the city's 50% goals. The state will require that its actions reach 50% greenhouse gas reductions by 2030 and 90% by 2050. And it also establishes 3 programs. One is Just Transition, to really focus on equity, another one on resilience, and a third one on climate crisis infrastructure. The sixth bill is the Climate Health Resiliency Act, and that is to protect the health of New Mexicans, especially those in underserved communities that are most impacted by climate change. And the Department of Health will establish a climate and public health program, a resiliency program, and an emergency preparedness program under this bill. The Water Conservation Act is to develop legislation specifically on drought to New Mexico, and the Plastic Pollution Reduction Act is similar to the one that we have at the city. We will be grandfathered in as to how we are currently managing it, but it would also subject us to the rules that are going to be established for takeout containers that would ban the use of styrofoam and limits the use of takeout containers statewide. Lots of changes. The third set of bills that I want to talk about has to do with financing. Has to do with financing for the environment. There is the Clean Energy Green Fund Act, and what that does is it focuses on ways to get money, a portion of money, the $7 billion that are in the IRA, that will be used to finance clean energy funds, bridge operational funds, and also provide low loan programs for low and moderate income. This Green Bank is really a loan program that's established for low and moderate income people to be able to have the cash flow that they need for their investments. The 10th one is the public banks for New Mexico, and this is a non-reoccurring appropriation and intends to invest public funds, taxes, and fees, and keep them circulating. It will work with different banks, community banks, credit unions, and the community development financial institution to support infrastructure development. The last one is on this slide is the Grants Opportunity Council, and that is a program that will be established as part of the Department of Financing, and it will share best practices for applying for all of the grants that will be coming out for any of its applicants, and establish a grant matching program. The last set of slides are listed. They were included in the packet, and they are not being recommended. And the first one has to do with the environmental rights, or the Green Constitutional Amendment, and that amends the New Mexico Constitution to add that future generations have the right to clean and healthy environment. The states and counties and municipalities will be the trustees of the natural resources. These provisions are self-executing, and the monetary damages shall not be awarded for a violation. The next one is supporting New Mexico Environment Department, Energy, Minerals, and Natural Resources Department, and the Office of State Engineers and the Interstate Stream Commission's budget. There are many increases that are needed to manage the programs, especially that are coming through the investment or the Inflation Reduction Act, and this is a request to be able to take advantage of this. The last one is the reform for the New Mexico legislation. This is an amendment to increase the duration of sessions, staff assistance, and compensation of legislators for the purpose of improving quality, efficiency, and equity. And with that, I leave you for questions and comments and a vote.
You have lots of questions here, Lisa. Let me see if I got them in order. Bencomo, Graham, Abeta, Coran.
Thanks, Mayor Pro Tem. Thanks, Lisa, for the work you do in your office. As I always say, I think we're very lucky to have you as our sustainability officer. Thanks for this. I think just a couple of process things. I know we haven't had a TSI meeting in a while, just holidays got in the way, and for future reference, I would love to have these go through the TSI PRC before they come to council. I think that would be most appropriate given how lengthy some of them are. Remind me the name of the coalition, Lisa?
I'll show you the whole list.
Thank you.
The Coalition of Sustainable Communities of New Mexico.
Great, thank you. And this coalition, they're seeking for endorsements on these bills statewide from folks like us?
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Bencomo, yes, they are, will go forward and advocate or lobby for any of the bills that are, that the members are supporting.
Okay, thank you. I think for me, when these type of resolutions come forward in terms of endorse or support this X policy at the legislature, I personally think it's best when there is an advocacy group behind it asking for endorsements, as I feel like often I feel like sometimes we pass these resolutions and they sort of go into the ether and don't really go anywhere. And so when it is an actual advocacy organization asking us for an endorsement that they believe will be critical in the passage of a legislation, I much more rather do that. I support doing that very much. I agree with most of these. If you can please put the no recommend one up. I personally would like to remove the Green Amendment from the list before voting yes on this piece, on this resolution. I hadn't publicly given any comments in relation to this Green Amendment. However, I have pretty serious frustrations regarding the intention of the Green Amendment. I feel like it is putting the burden of accountability on municipalities, thus the taxpayer, as opposed to industry, who is the main primary driver of climate change. I guess, you know, the state legislature, though, it's hard to address and hold industry accountable when oil and gas makes up 30% of the state budget. And this to me feels like it is placing municipalities like ours at great risk, and it is placing the taxpayer as the responsible party for climate change, when municipalities like ours are in fact ahead of the curve on climate action. And so I have yet to see why this Green Amendment is actually good for communities when it is not holding the parties who are responsible for climate action. I recently read this funny meme about how no matter how many plastic straws we don't use, that our individual choices matter, but they won't matter if there is no transformational systemic change to policies that don't hold industry accountable. So this one feels a little bit of like a litmus test, if you will. So I would like not support it. I, with all due respect, completely disagree on the no recommendation for reforming the New Mexico legislature. I completely support this piece of legislation and will continue to. New Mexico is, if not the only volunteer legislature in the country, one of two volunteer legislation in the country. And that breeds corruption. And as Representative Angelica Rubio often says, traditionally those who have had access to being elected to the state
to state legislature are the rich, the retired, and she says, like her, they're resourceful. And working class people should have access to serving their community through public service in the state legislature without feeling like they have to sacrifice their wallet, how they're going to pay bills. I think it's completely shameful that we still have this volunteer legislature. Often I think, you know, people come here, people send us emails that we're getting wealthy off of this job. And I certainly, when I talk to legislators, feel like I have nothing to complain about because, you know, our $34,000 salary, which amounts to about $16 an hour, is something. It's certainly not enough to pay my mortgage. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us on this dais that have second jobs in order to do this job. And similarly with state legislators. And so I completely disagree that this should not be something we support. I think it's important, actually, that this body support that piece of legislation. So I just wanted to say that. I'd be happy, Mayor Pro Tem, after this, I would like to make an amendment to remove the Green Amendment from the list so that I can vote for the whole resolution, but I'll allow my council colleagues to go first.
Thank you, Councillor Bencomo. I'm a little confused because these are bills that the group did not recommend moving forward. So the Environmental Rights Constitutional Amendment is not recommended.
Mayor Pro Tem, I think they're in the resolution as they're all on the same. Yeah, Christina's saying that if
It's a whole
Mayor Pro Tem, they're listed in the exhibit, so she would be correct. We would need to amend it to remove that one.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. A little confusing, but yes, Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Lisa, I don't have questions, just a soliloquy, so feel free to think about other stuff. You're stuck making eye contact with me. So spoiler alert, I'm inclined not to vote for this resolution, but I want to quickly explain why. Just because, and I think Councillor Bencomo has already said a lot of what was already in my heart. In terms of these big blanket, you know, I'm being asked to say yes to 20 different things, 10 of which are very vague at this point. I have no idea where some of these things are going to go, and the coalition providing the input specifically says in the exhibit, like, we're speculating here. On the other hand, you know, as a probably no vote, I want to make it clear that I am not pro-drought, anti-resiliency, anti-environment. So please, like, don't come at me with this that, like, Councillor Graham hates the environment, because it's not that. And I also recognize I'm still a relative newbie here. I get this is how it works sometimes. You know, we are asked to just look at a big package of things all at once for sake of efficiency. I, though, am more inclined, I would rather have to take the time to wade through 15 or 20 different things so I can say, yes, this, no, that, yes, this, maybe that. I don't know, maybe that probably makes me terrible to be up here. I'm awful at the ceremonial stuff. But yeah, so all of that to say, I just wanted to provide a little clarity on where my thinking is, and to say that this is not my declaring myself an anti-environmentalist, but rather somebody who is concerned about voting on something before I have enough detail. And yes to reform of the New Mexico State Legislature for all of the reasons that you said, Councillor Bencomo. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Councillor Graham. Councillor Abeyta.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I also am going to preface this that I'm not anti-environment. However, there is a few process items with this. Out of the 20 items that we had, 14 did not have sponsors, which means it's not written. And what I know from my time working up north is what is good policy and what's a good idea can sometimes be two very different things. And so I often want to see what is exactly written out, what is included in this type of legislation before I approve different items. We also have a few items on here that were noted that we were approved in prior council years but haven't been made into law. And so I'd be very curious to know what were the barriers for that to pass? What was the analysis of the impacts to communities, and was that the reason why they haven't gone further? And so for those types of reasons, I'm not inclined either to pass this as a whole, and I would rather go piece by piece if we are being asked to support this type of legislation, because these items do have high impacts to municipalities. Councillor Bencomo was very right when she talked about the green constitutional amendment, that there can be some serious issues when it comes to how municipalities have to work with some of these bills that are passed. And it can have, a lot of unintended consequences, which is perhaps why some of these items maybe didn't make it to the finish line in previous years. And so for that, I'm inclined not to approve. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Councillor Abeyta. Councillor Curran.
I think a lot of my colleagues sort of shared the concerns, and I also just want to sort of put it out there that I think I appreciate when community organizations come and say, can we support this? Can you talk about it? Can you inform folks? And I think there's even one included in here, public banking, that we've been having conversations about, but I know that that's not actually going to be in the legislature this year. So
it's been turned down.
It's been, yeah. So I feel like this packet of things shows me where we can inform folks or where we can be better educated, but I don't feel comfortable voting for things that seem pretty unclear about the implications. Except I do also support the reform of the legislature, and that's why I have questions about these recommendations too. I would like to know what the sort of rationale for recommendation versus not recommendation is, and I'm definitely not comfortable making a decision when I don't totally understand the rationale for recommendation or not recommendation. So, and this isn't really a criticism of you. I know that you took these of, I think we need to have more conversations about a lot of the things in here, and I think I would be happy to engage in those, especially on the TSI committee. And so, but I don't feel comfortable approving a blanket statement, especially when I don't completely understand the rationale behind recommendations or not recommended things. So, thank you. Similarly, I am not anti-environment, I guess, which for the record, I hope we don't have to say that, but just to, make it clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Curran. Councillor Flores.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Lisa, Ms. LaRock, for the presentation. I'm in complete agreement with all of the comments made by my colleagues. I find this to be, it's like everything, it's like everything in the kitchen sink was thrown in. And I find it very offensive that it comes this late for a group to go through our city, through your department. And this is, of course, nothing to criticize anything that you've done, but the fact that they didn't come to the city council maybe a year or 2 years ago, because as well, with some of these things, they've been floating around for quite some time. But as Councillor Abeyta noted, none of these have an author. And for them to come to us to submit something or other is really offensive. I think that, like the public bank group, I mean, they've been coming to us for, 3 or 4 years now, and going to our community groups too, to fully discuss the impact that that particular group would have should we have that public bank. The constitutional amendment on the environmental rights, that I think is a red herring. The reform of the New Mexico State Legislature, we need that more than ever. I mean, to have a state legislature that only meets 30 days, and oh, big deal, we're having a 60-day session, which opened today. But we need a full-time legislature. I think that it's the state of North Dakota that doesn't have, they don't even get a per diem. So is it North Dakota? Oh, it's South, I'm sorry. I got my South. But yeah, so yeah, I, just by way of how, I was a legislative intern for the state of California during my senior year in college. And what I learned was that I would get, my job was, I was working for majority consultants, and my job was to take the bills and weed out what didn't make sense. And it was amazing the compromises that went on. So I'd like to know how this group was working with who, or which group, or it really doesn't make any sense what they're doing here. So I will definitely not vote in favor of it. I think that it has to go through a PRC. I think Councilor Bencomo said it would be the TSI. Do you sit on that, or do you attend those meetings, Lisa?
Mayor Pro Tem Councilor Flores, yes, I do.
Yes, so it'd be perfect place to kick it around and weed out some of this, everything in the kitchen sink, take this kitchen sink out, and see how we can come up with something that is really impactful. This doesn't make sense at all. But thank you very much, Lisa. Thank you for all your dedication to, and as you know, I'm not against environmental change. And yeah, and anyway, so you know all that. So thank you very much, Lisa. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Flores. Yeah, Lisa, thank you for presenting this to us. This is by no means a criticism on you or a slight on you. The last 7 years when we come to this point, there are things as the council, and the council has changed drastically in the last 7 years, to include this one. There have been things that each of us have requested that when these sorts of things come to us, that we are given the bill, that the analysis, just a lot of research that you and our policy analysts and maybe legislative aides need to be looking at and presenting to us in its entirety, so that we are able to make the best choice. And I do agree about moving this through the PRCs. There are certain ones that may not necessarily go completely to the TSI. It could be the Health Policy Review Committee. It could be housing. It could be some of the other ones. But I feel very strongly that although I appreciate what was in the packet and the exhibits, and I read all of them, I too had issue and very concerned about those bills that didn't have a sponsor at this point. And so given that, and interesting enough, IFO and I had met last week or a couple of weeks. Maybe it's been longer than that, IFO. Maybe it's been about a month. Councilor Flores, myself, Mr. Peely, and Councilor Abeyta were meeting so as we get preparing for the session related to the airport. And one of the things that I spoke of was it was 4 weeks. Councilor Flores has put out her fingers, 4 weeks. And one of the things that we spoke of was my time at Children, Youth, and Families Department, and during this time, they've selected, during the legislative session, they've selected people to monitor bills that were important to the department. And they would monitor them in its entirety. And in the event that we would need to go to the session to advocate for a particular bill, then we would do that. And so those are things that I brought to Ifo's attention, and something that I know he's kind of pondering and thinking about, but it's something that I know we're not doing currently here, and maybe you are, I don't know, each of you are doing that, but we don't get that sort of regurgitated back to council as it relates to that. And a lot of times, it doesn't happen till Larry comes back, right? After the end of the session, our lobbyist, Larry Haran. And so those are things that I'm asking that will make it easier for us to be prepared to vote on this. And then lastly, Ifo would like to just speak to process and explain to us so that we have a better understanding of what from the administrative standpoint, where he was going with many of these. Ifo.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I know Connie's had his mic on, so if we can go here, and then I can fill in if he doesn't.
My apologies to Connie. I don't look all the way down that.
No, you're good.
The
You're
dais,
good.
but yes.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council. I just first off want to thank Lisa for her advocacy on this topic. On the question for rationale on bills not recommended, that's on me. A few members of CMO, myself, we met with Larry Haran, and the rationale is simple. With the Green Amendment, you mentioned there was a lot of the reasons mentioned on why that was not recommended, but the other two bullet points, the rationale was, as we had our discussion with Larry Haran, and by the way, he's on Zoom right now if there's any questions as well. I just want to let you know he is standing by. The rationale is operational. These had to do with operations from the government. Reform from New Mexico State Legislator that had to do with governance and support for NM environmental departments. That had to do with budget increases. And so what the political strategy was, and again, this was just a staff recommendation, knowing that it would be presented in front of the dais. And so what the plan was if questions came from the dais, then we would share what the rationale was. So I apologize if next time we'll make sure it's clear in the bullets. So as you're making it, but it was just staying in our lane and staying in our sandbox, not telling the government up north how to increase their budgets or how to increase their sessions. And so strategically was just remaining silent and remaining neutral on this, strategy with our lobbyists in saying we just wanted to remain silent on that. So that was the rationale. If there's any questions with that, we have Larry Haran, and with any of the bills in here, Larry Haran, our lobbyist, is on Zoom as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Akani, for that. And then Councilor Bencomo, you had something you would like to say, yes?
Yes, actually, I was going to ask that Councilor Corran had raised this question about process, and I was going to ask to repeat it. But I would just like to note that I would rather table this indefinitely, because I don't want anyone to take my no out of context in terms of what I support and what I don't support. So I would rather table this indefinitely, and if Lisa and staff want to work through TSI as these begin to clear up, I would much rather do that, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Councilor Bencomo. Councilor Grant, do you want to add?
No, just thank you for giving us the rationale. I tend to agree with Councilor Bencomo, but I also would say that I understand the idea that perhaps there's strategy to remaining silent on certain things, but for me, that's a place I don't want to go, and in particular related to reform on the state legislature. I understand it's telling someone else what to do, but this is literally about telling other people what to do, so here we are. So if we're going to tell them what to do, I would like to do all of that in the best, most impactful way, and I understand that might not be politically popular position, but I don't think we should remain silent on some things, especially something as important as that. So I appreciate you letting us know the rationale, and I appreciate you all talking about this, but I think I agree with Councilor Bencomo.
Thank you, Councilor Curran. Ivo?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I think it kind of answered what I wanted to say regarding the rationale. The only thing I would add to maybe process, because as you know, Lisa's very thorough when she comes with presentations. This just happens to be something that we bring every year, right, Lisa? This is something that has been brought in this format, in this fashion, for I don't know how long.
It's the fifth year.
But this is the fifth year. The city's been a part of this coalition for five years. And so this has been the process. In fact, this is a little bit more detailed than what we've brought in the past. And when this was brought to our attention, there are some of these, like even the public bank and some of these that I don't know if we necessarily wanted to just have a neutral stance, but when we're talking about environment and this coalition, some of these are outside the scope of that, right? And so if we are going to discuss it, we should be discussing it on its own or in a different format with a different, and so those were some of the rationale, some where we knew there was some controversy, where we looked at some of these, and then, again, is also having really no impact to the city in some way. We also looked at that criterion, and so, again, Larry's been a big help with that, but I just want to point that out with Lisa. I mean, the reason why it's presented in this way is because as a part of the coalition, the city's been a part of this coalition, that's been the process. We just bring it forward, it gets approved. I think it was originally put on like a consent agenda, right? No? Oh, okay. It was?
Mayor Pro Tem, City Manager Peely, I've done this exact same thing for 5 years.
And so when we looked at it, we kind of pushed it this way, and Lisa was pretty, accommodating to us in the CMO office to be able to go through this a little bit. But hearing from you all, I think it was good direction for us to break them up, and then we'll continue to do that further. So we've heard you loud and clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivo. I understand Larry is on the line, and I don't know if he has anything to add. Can he?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And I appreciate you accommodating me with Zoom. I'm up here in Santa Fe for the opening day. And I think Mr. Peely said it very well. I think when you look at those three staff recommendations, and Connie did a good job of explaining our discussion. The first one, the Green Amendment, as we've all had discussions when we had our individual meetings, there are potential implications for the city that may be unforeseen and may be negative, and so that's why that was recommended taken off. And the other two are just, at least initially when you're talking about budgets for state agencies, that's not something as a municipality we have typically weighed in on before, at least not in a direct manner. And so that's why that recommendation was there. And again, I think it was really helpful for me to hear the discussion about the third, which is the reform of the state legislature. And Connie described it very well. Do we want to weigh in on how another governmental entity decides to enact their rules and govern themselves? And I think we've heard loud and clear from you as members of the council that that's something you think is important and for us to weigh in on. So neither of those second two were any opposition to the efforts themselves. It was more of a, do we want to weigh in on that type of issue? And I think we've received that clarification, and I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate that. Any feedback, comments to Larry's? Okay. Councilor Bengomo?
I would like to make a motion to table this resolution indefinitely.
Motion made to table this resolution indefinitely by Bengomo.
Second by Flores.
Second by Flores. Christine?
This is on the motion to table Resolution 23-085 indefinitely. Councilor Beta?
Yes.
Councilor Graham?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Curran?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And the mayor is absent.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. 7.2, a resolution authorizing the City of Las Cruces to accept various grant awards for various city departments through an amendment to the city's adopted 2023 budget. May I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion made by Graham, second by Flores. Hi, Rocio. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, and yourself?
Good, good.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and members of council. Rocio Gamboa, budget analyst. Today I'm bringing a resolution before you to accept 2 state grants and 1 modification grant. The fire department has been awarded a grant for the New Mexico State Fire Marshal Equipment Grant from the Special Revenue Fund.
Rocio, will you talk more directly into the mic, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I'll start over, okay? The first grant is for the fire department for a New Mexico State Fire Marshal Equipment Grant for $300,000. The granting agency is the New Mexico Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. This grant is to purchase self-contained breathing apparatus for the fire department. This is funding from the 22 New Mexico Capital Outlay for Fire and the Fire FY23 Fire Fund. The second grant is for HIDA. HIDA has been awarded HIDA FY23 modification number 2 and 3 in the amount of $9,140,000 for a project total of $1.2 million. The granting agency is from the Executive Office of President, Office of National Drug Control Policy. This action accepts 2 modifications. The first is to reduce the awarded amount for Fugitive Violent Offender Task Force by $15,860, and the second increases the awarded amount for the New Mexico Crime Gun Intelligence Enforcement by $25,000. Quality of Life Department has been awarded FY23 New Mexico State Grants Aid for Thomas and Brannigan Library in the amount of $20,509.44 from a granting agency, New Mexico State Library. This is to support recipients' library collections, library staff salaries, professional development, equipment, and other operational expenditures associated with delivery of library services. That shall do it. Here are your council options. I will stand for questions along with Alfredo Pacheco, Deputy Finance Director, representing grants and other staff available from each department today to assist.
Thank you, Rocio. Appreciate that. Councilor Flores.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Rocio, for your presentation. On page 2, the department after below fire, what does that stand for?
HIDA, high intensity drug trafficking.
Oh, and that's why, is that?
From police. It's for police.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I have nothing to do with that, obviously. So,
Councilor Flores, Chief had his light on, and
you want to explain it to me as if I were a 4-year-old, please?
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Flores, it stands for High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area, HIDA.
And that's the money that's coming from the Homeland Security? Is that Homeland
National
Security?
Drug Control Policy, Executive Office of the President, Office of National Drug Control Policy.
So that's Homeland Security, Chief Dominguez?
Councilor Flores, we have a representative from HIDA here who can explain.
Oh, wonderful. You see, now we're all going to learn. I hope the Sun News
Good
gets it.
afternoon.
Good afternoon, councilors.
Please state your name.
My name is Sandra Russell, and I am the finance director for the High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area in the state of New Mexico. We are a federal grant program, and we are funded by the Office of National Drug Control Policy. The City of Las Cruces acts as our fiduciary for some of these grant funds, and I'll entertain any questions in regards to the funding.
So when you say fiduciary, the fiduciary agent, are there any services related to being more than a fiduciary medium?
Yes, we do fund several of the city projects such as Metro Narcotics. We fund we provide funding for the enforcement efforts that are at that location.
I see. So there's direct funding to personnel. Is that correct?
In support of overtime and also operating expenses.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Councillor Flores. Anybody else? Seeing none? Christine? I'm sorry. Public comment. Any public comment related to this? Seeing none? Christine?
This is on the motion to approve Resolution 23-086. Councilor Beta?
Yes.
Councilor Graham?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Cran?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And the mayor is absent.
Thank you. Hi, Chris.
Good afternoon, Mayor
Good
Pro Tem and
afternoon.
Council.
This is a resolution number 23-087. It's adopting a small business storefront repair program. May I get a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second, Gorin.
Motion made by, was that Graham, and second by Abeta, sorry. Motion made by Abeta, second by Graham. Chris. Karan. They have me straight. Hi.
Good afternoon, everyone. Chris Favor with Economic Development, here to talk about the Small Business Storefront Repair Program. So this program will use $400,000 in remaining unencumbered ARPA funds, and it's to go to businesses who experience direct economic disruption related to COVID, which was the overarching idea behind ARPA. This proposal is that small businesses can apply for a grant of up to $2,500 to help repair storefront property damages that occurred on or after January 1st, 2021. And damages include broken windows, doors, locks, etching on windows, those types of things. Applications will be accepted on a continuous basis until all the funds have been expended. One application may be submitted per registered business, and it will be administered through the Business Development section of Economic Development Department. And if approved, applications would open on February 1st. Some of the eligibility requirements: businesses had to experience direct economic disruption due to the impacts of COVID. They need to provide proof of repairs to broken doors, windows, and/or locks. They need to be have an active CLC business license or be a current 501c3, 6, or 19. Be in compliance with all local, federal, state, and city laws and regulations. They need to be located within the city limits and are currently open to the public. Have 40 or fewer full-time or full-time equivalent employees. Have been in business since March 15th of 2020. And be a locally owned non-corporate franchise or non-corporate chain business. And they need to operate from a physical location and/or mobile truck that serves the general public. That's all I have. Questions?
Thank you, Chris. Graham, Flores.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you, Chris. What is eligible is extremely limited. And I was wondering if you could provide some insight. In the packet, for instance, it specifically says graffiti removal is not covered. Can you just give us a sense of what's covered and why?
Sure. Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Graham, that was we modeled this after other programs around the country, and that was just kind of the basis for what was covered and wasn't covered. Obviously, if you guys feel otherwise, we could certainly make adjustments to that. But most of the issues revolve around broken windows, sometimes broken locks, damage to windows and things of that nature. But it is obviously up for discussion if we want to expand some of that as well.
Okay, yes, so I would be interested in hearing from colleagues on that, if we could be a little more expansive with how we're deciding what counts as damage. The other questions I've received, I'm thinking that it's the nature of the ARPA funding that puts us on this kind of COVID-y timeline. That's the reference to March 2020, and that's correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, great. That's all the questions I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Graham. Councillor Flores?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Chris Faber, for your presentation. When we discussed this at the Economic Development Policy Review Committee, did the issue of insurance by the business owner come up? It did come up, didn't it? And can you refresh my memory as to, because I don't see that as a requirement to qualify for reimbursement.
Right. Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Flores. Yeah, I think probably a lot of these will go to reimburse businesses for expenses they had to pay for a deductible, things of that nature. So, yeah.
Good, because I thought, okay, does my memory serve me well? And it did. And I'm happy to hear that. Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, thank you, Councilor Flores. Councilor Bencomo.
Thanks, Councilor Flores, for that clarification, and Chris, for you and Economic Development staff for bringing this forward. I think it's a good and innovative use of funds not tied down by anti-donation, so I appreciate that very much. What's a 501c6 and 19? Can you give me an example of that?
Councilor Flores, excuse me, Councilor Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Bencomo. I'm not exactly sure on what a C6 or 19 is. Might have to get some clarification. Those were the criteria that we used for the CARES grant when we did that a couple years ago. So I remember there was some discussion around that, and it seemed like those were the ones that were should be accepted, but I don't know the specifics, all the details for each of them.
And so you will be accepting applications retroactively then?
That is correct. Yeah, we dated it back to January 1st of 2021.
Okay. I also did appreciate some of the pieces you had on this last slide around, under fewer than 40 locally owned, non-corporate. I think those are really important. So I really appreciate that, Chris. I also just, while I think this is important and a good use of these funds that are left over, it's still a Band-Aid. And we can never pay back someone's lost peace of mind, right? I am curious about perhaps a collaboration between economic development and the police department around preventative measures. These keep happening. We keep hearing about businesses in our districts getting broken into, and it just seems like it keeps happening and happening. And so I would love to hear whatever you can share, Chief and Chris, around what are the preventative initiatives that PD is putting forth that you can share with us, that you can share with the public, and if there's anything that this council can do to support whatever might be missing. I just feel like, this is a good Band-Aid, but a Band-Aid nonetheless. So I'm curious if anyone has an answer on that.
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Bencomo, I'll defer to Chief Dominguez on that one.
Mayor, Councilor Flores, our patrol officers and our street
Bencomo.
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Bencomo, my apologies, Councilor Flores. Our patrol officers and patrol shifts and our street crime units continue to work projects diligently day in and night to prevent especially commercial burglaries, which is what we're discussing right now. It is important to point out that we have had a large rise in commercial burglaries since COVID, and it continues to happen. We have seen small decreases at times based on weather and things of that nature, but we do continue to see a large increase in commercial burglaries, not necessarily storefronts, which is what was mentioned here, but we do see some modus operandi where they're going in through back doors, breaking in through windows, things of that nature. We feel the frustration from business owners as well as citizens that come forth. We continue to do what working projects and attempting to get more personnel, which is obviously prevention is the key, and bodies are going to be a big difference for us. Right now we are trying to add more to our staffing, and in discussions that I've had with Mr. Peely to add more staffing so that we can prevent a lot of these things from happening.
Thank you, Chief. And I didn't quite catch you. Did you say staff aides? Or staffing? Oh, okay.
Staffing.
Oh, okay, thank you. I thought staff aides. I was like, what are staff aides? Thank you, Chief. I appreciate you noting that, and I'll continue my conversations with our city manager as well. And I do want to also just note a big thank you to like Officer Glimpf, for example, who goes out to your business and even your homes and assesses your risk factors. And so that's been a really big help for people in my district. And so I just wanted to express my gratitude for that as well, and all the Small Business Watch programs that he has helped start. Those are all my questions, Chris. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor Bengomo. Oh
my God.
Sorry, Councillor Abeyta.
But we're going to say that Councillor Flores looks younger today, right? Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just a quick comment based on what I just heard from Chief. I do know that we're going to have a lot of our budget conferences next month, and so I hope that this type of issue is something that is brought up during those meetings as we look at what is necessary and needed for the budget next year. So thank you, and thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Councillor Abeyta. Chris, thank you for bringing this forward. It's outside of the box and creative, and when you brought a number of things along to our economic development PRC. I want the public and the business to know that we think about these things. This is like something that's very important to us. You know, when we get public comment, it's almost like people are thinking, you know, you don't care, and that's just far from the truth. We do care. We're doing what we can based on what the tools right in our toolbox. Appreciate your ingenuity and looking sort of, again, outside the box. I have a couple of concerns. We talked about a police report being made. I didn't see that as part of the criteria. And the reason that I am pushing this a little more today is because I'm getting the impression, and when I do speak to businesses, they are not calling police. And there have been a couple of instances where I've tagged or copied Chief and Officer Glimp and Klemek, and the folks that are on the receiving end of some of this crime have not called police. They go and they look and research that information, and it's not being reported. And that is something that we have to curb. We have to work together. And this is one of the things is, like, I know there's a lot of frustration. Juan comes up every regular council meeting and speaks to the numerous break-ins that are occurring in the city. And I see them. I'm seeing them on Facebook. I think there's an impression that we don't have relationships with the business community, and we do. Many of them were reaching out. You know, the issue that happened at the downtown, I was there early morning hours looking at the destruction. So when you start digging in, our business community isn't calling police, and that's sort of the first thing that they should be doing so that police can start investigating. And I'm not saying that that's happening all the time. Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying, but this needs to be a part of the criteria. They have to make a police report in order for police and the groups that are established to do the work that they're supposed to be doing to catch the criminal. If you can't even do that basic thing, then I think we have a problem. And so I'm asking that it gets put.
Can I just address that real quick, Mayor
Yeah.
Pro Tem? So we talked about that, and my thought—
We did talk about it.
My thought was, if someone dating back to early 2021 applied but didn't file a report at that time, I didn't want them to not be eligible for this program. And I didn't want to make that a blanket requirement. So what we're doing internally is, when we get applicants that come in with something that happened recently, through the process, our staff will tell them, please file a police report, and have that conversation with them. But if I made it a blanket requirement, I was afraid it was going to eliminate those businesses from the early days of the pandemic that didn't file one. And it may, I don't know if it's would be too late to go back at that point in time, but if it was, I didn't want to eliminate them on something like a technicality. So I hear what you're saying. I thought that might be the best way to
I
handle
really
that.
appreciate that, Chris. I think that's something to think about, and I'm wondering if we can grandfather in, from the previous time to up to February 1st, but it also. It concerns me that we're not utilizing our police force like we need to, although they get a lot of calls, like 145,000, 54,000, something like that. Chief could probably give right off the top of our head a lot of calls, but this is, for me, very basic so that it initiates the investigation moving forward. So I'm asking that maybe there's that grandfathering in from that period of time, but also encouraging the folks, like you said, when they come and present this application, that a police report is because I'm afraid that people are taking things in their own hands. We've had issues where that has happened and a person got shot dead because they went after someone that had a gun, and so it's creating a lot of tension and concern in the community there. And I realize that all of us have what we have because we work for it. And truly what's happening is a lot of this is drug related, according to what Chief and I have spoken about related to this increase in crime. So I'd like to say that. And let's see, I think it's important to also, I appreciate Councilor Bencomo and others talking about like what PD is doing. Prevention is really important. And I've been thinking about how the Las Cruces Care Unit, although they're just two, could really help and provide some guidance along with the victim advocates that PD has, specifically when our business community is being targeted. And so I'd like to see at least one, or maybe hiring another Las Cruces Cares advocate specific to our business community, so that they can reach out upon hearing that they've been broken into and sort of outline what are the steps, and sort of kind of like a warm handoff almost, right? And that would be the liaison, if you will, to the people on patrol. And I've been talking about this for some time, and I'm really hoping that this can be a piece of this component. And if you need more money to be able to do that, I know some people.
You know some people?
I know some people that could approve from the, an additional Las Cruces Cares advocate specific to our business community. I think it will go a long way. It will bridge the gap or the barrier that I think a lot of our businesses are feeling related to the city and police department. So, anything else? Any other? Councilor Graham?
Is this the point where I can propose my amendments?
Yes, you can.
To the resolution?
Yes.
Sorry in advance, Christine. Oh, no. Hit me.
Mayor Pro Tem Councilor Graham, I was actually going to say that the resolution is written so non-substantive and substantive issues can be made to the program itself. So we can give direction to the city manager to add that if you would like, instead of an amendment.
Okay, so we would be able to relax the standards on what is eligible, and we could also remove the provision that specifically is
correct
graffiti. Okay.
Correct.
I'm happy then, thank you.
So no, we don't have to say specifically. Oh, just give direction to EFO. Gotcha. Okay. Direction. We're giving you direction. I think we did, right? We're pretty specific. Do we want to recap? Do you know what Chris?
Mayor Pro Tem, I can go back and rewrite the language and work with City Manager's office to make it a little bit more
expansive.
Yeah, expansive, good word, yes. I can work on that today.
You know, one of the other things I think I'd like to talk about is I did get a couple of emails about the urination and defecation and why isn't that included. I want to say that we have very specific programs like the spot cleanup ban that comes very much if police, you know, if that has happened. But maybe it's not working in its entirety because it's not a 24/7 program, and so I want us to consider, you know, looking at that, because that is a pretty tough thing to have to do when it happens late at night and you're in the morning having to open up. The onus is on you to clean that up. We can't wait for the spot van to come and clean that up. So I wanted to bring that up. I had just remembered about that. But also the Mano a Mano program. Those are all those programs that I think will work in conjunction with this, that we need to, I think, partner with PIO to ensure that the public is aware of those things. And Ifo, I'm wondering if maybe we can have an element to the spot cleanup that is 24/7. I'm not sure, but we should probably have a little more conversation about that, because I think that kind of thing is really happening, and hopefully the hygiene stations will alleviate that, but until then, that continues to be an issue. Okay, all right. Christine?
This is on the motion to approve Resolution 23-087. Councilor Abeyta?
Yes.
Councilor Graham?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Cran?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And the mayor is absent.
Thank you, Christine.
Thanks again, Chris.
Next up, 7.4, resolution number 23088, a resolution approving a housing trust fund loan agreement between the City of Las Cruces and Three Sisters. May I get a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Motion made by Councilor Abeyta. Second by Councilor Flores. Hi, Jan. Happy
Yes,
New Year. I don't think I've seen you yet.
Might not have.
Yeah, happy
Good
New
afternoon,
Year.
Mayor Pro Tem and City Councilors. My name is Jan Lauterbach. I'm with the Economic Development Department. And the resolution before you seeks to an approval of a loan agreement and corresponding budget adjustment for a multi-family affordable housing project to be known as the Three Sisters Apartments. The proposed complex is being developed through a partnership between Catholic Charities Housing, Inc. and Chelsea Investment Corporation. It will contain 70 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units, a community center, and outdoor recreation space. With one of the units set aside for an on-site manager, the low-income housing tax credit project will target households at less than 60% of area median income. Funding sources include low-income housing tax credit, or LIHTC, and equity investors, MFA home funds, which is the Mortgage Finance Authority, deferred developer fee, National Housing Trust Fund monies, and City of Las Cruces funding. In December 2021, City Council approved Resolution 22-072, which approved an allocation of $2.4 million in city funding for the project, which was contingent upon the project receiving award of LIHTC funds. This commitment of city funds represents 13.31% of the estimated total development cost of just over $18 million. It strengthened the low-income housing tax credit application as the project was awarded LIHTC funding. LIHTC rules require a developer to begin construction 1 year from the award date, and action today will approve the funding and action today will approve the required security and loan agreements along with the budget adjustment for the funding and allow the project to move forward through the development process. Here's a vicinity map of the project. It's located near the intersection of Griggs and Walnut Street, just south of the Angel Care property, and just north of the Angel Care property and south of the athletic fields on Walnut and Hadley. This is the architect's rendition of the project on the site. And the budget adjustment, the funding's coming from the Telsor Facility Fund, excuse me. And with that, you have your standard council options, and I stand for questions.
Thank you. Councillor Flores, Councillor Bingle.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you so much, Jan, for your presentation. What is the qualification, the amount? I mean, in dollars and cents, at 60%. I think it was page 3.
The 60% limit, currently, right now, 60% for a household size of family of 4 is $36,600 for a low-income housing tax credit project. Okay. And those limits are set by the New Mexico Housing, the Mortgage Finance Authority.
Right, MFA. So family earning $36,600 or less qualify?
Yes, that's for a family size of 4.
For 4, okay. And are there adjustments for a family beyond 4 members? How should I say that?
I have a chart that might be helpful for you.
Yeah, I know there's charts. So, so it does change according to the 60% will adjust accordingly.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem and Councillor Flores, I have the chart up in front of you showing the household size is in the top.
So someone with 8 members in the family would,
right across at the $48,360 would be a limit for an 8 family size of 8.
Oh, so that would be a limit. So anyone in 70 or 80 would not qualify?
That's correct. 60% is the limit for the complex.
I see. Thank you very much, Jan. That was a very good presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Flores. Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. First of all, thank you so much for the presentation, and I just want to say what an amazing project this looks like it's going to be. Love the location, love that it's so close to one of our great community schools, Lynn Middle School. We've got the skate park right there. The question I have, and this is probably just going to show my newbiness up here. I'm looking in the agenda packet. You probably don't have access to that where you're standing, but oh, you do?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Page 155 of 491. Can you just help me understand, is this a typical funding structure for a project like this? So in other words, City of Las Cruces is the 4th mortgagee, 4th mortgage holder. There are 3 others ahead of us. Can you just help me understand a little bit? This is the norm?
Mayor Pro Tem and Councillor Graham, it is a norm on a low-income housing tax credit project. We have a construction lender to start off with. When at the end of construction that gets paid, then there becomes the permanent lender. Right behind the permanent lender is the Mortgage Finance Authority home funds. They are required in second position. If the City of Las Cruces had home funds in it, we would be in second position there. So MFA, their money, and the National Housing Trust Fund money come in before the City of Las Cruces funding.
Okay, thank you. And how does that affect our ongoing, does it affect kind of our ongoing relationship with the project once it's rolling, happening? I'm probably not phrasing that very elegantly.
Mayor Pro Tem and Councillor Graham, I do not believe it affects our funding. There are so many pieces of the puzzle and so many legal papers in here and so many commitments to make this project work. Our funding should not have any effect on being in 4th position.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Councillor Graham. Any other questions, concerns?
Good picture, Adrian.
Mayor Pro Tem Gondara and councilors, I have Tim Baker with Chelsea Investment Corporation who would like a moment of your time, please.
Sure. Hello, Mr. Baker. Welcome.
Mayor Pro Tem, councilors. First of all, it's an honor to be in front of you again.
Please state your name.
Sorry, Tim Baker, Chelsea Investment Corporation, Carlsbad, California, the other Carlsbad. Following up on your questions about a structure, I've about 25 years of experience in affordable housing. I've done about 40 developments. The way the stack of financing works, typically, it's the biggest government agency. So it's the feds first, the state second, the local governments third or fourth. No matter what the amount of money is, the king's rule, so to speak, or queens, if you will, so to speak. So it's very common for the city jurisdictions to be third or fourth in a lien position, so forth. In terms of oversight, we have annual inspections by the state of New Mexico. If it's in the loan documents, but I've not seen them, but I would imagine there's inspections by the city also. From our funder standpoint, which will be Key Bank, Rocky Mountain, and the investor will be the Richmond Group, they all have inspections. So you could be rest assured we're inspections. We also like to say that the best way to market our projects in terms of future projects is that we're the best one on the block. We challenge people to go see our projects at 5 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday morning, or go see it at 11 o'clock at night to see how well they're maintained. We take great pride and honor in terms of receiving public dollars and take great responsibility in that way to honor those dollars. Our company, just really quickly, is over 30 years old. We have 130 developments in California, Arizona, New Mexico, and now one in Utah. We do not sell our developments. We look to be long-term custodians, and this project will remain affordable for 35 years in terms of compliance. So it's great to be in front of you all, and thank you for the consideration. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Any questions, Council? Yes, Councilor Flores.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Baker. So if, say, the city of Las Cruces is the fourth mortgagee, or is it mortgager? Well, whatever.
Lien position.
Lien holder.
Yeah.
Lien holder. So in terms of a foreclosure, Chelsea would be the first in line, right?
If there was a foreclosure in affordable housing, the key thing with affordable housing is the equity investor that buys the tax credits is a limited partner, and they own 99% of the partnership. If we're doing something wrong, most likely what will happen is they will kick us out, and they'll bring somebody else in our place. They don't want to be they own the property. They don't want to be foreclosed upon by any of the funders. So the Richmond Group, they don't have a lien position. They're part of the ownership. So way before somebody would foreclose on us, and this would be Rocky Mountain CRC, and they're in the business to do community lending, we would be kicked out and somebody else would be brought in to make sure the project is being run correctly, because they have an obligation to their investors in the tax credits to make sure the project is being operated correctly.
So would I be correct in deducting from what you've said that it's not likely to happen?
Very unlikely. In the affordable housing world, when you have tax credits, it's highly unusual to see a foreclosure.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Flores. Anybody else?
And if I could add one other thing too, part of the ownership structure is that we provide guarantees. So we provide construction guarantee, we provide occupancy guarantee, and we provide funding guarantees. So some of those go on for at least 4 to 5 years. So there's a lot at stake for us too, besides your reputation.
Well, then what's the term of the loan?
The loans, it varies. So Rocky Mountain will have a loan for 30 years. The New Mexico Housing Finance Agency is for 55 years, and the city's loan, I believe, is 20 years.
Okay, so, okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very
You're
much.
very
Thank you,
welcome.
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Flores. Any public comment? There's somebody before you, sir. Get in line. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Eddie Benz.
Hello, Mr. Benz. Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
It's sitting back there listening and watching is interesting, to say the least. First of all, the project you're looking at is needed in Las Cruces, and we need that type of housing. But I am also in the housing market too and have a good understanding. As you all are aware, I have involved in an apartment complex under construction up on Roadrunner Boulevard. That particular project is about 270 units ultimately in it. And it's interesting enough that we're providing Olympic swimming pools. We're providing all types of amenities from recreation rooms to exercise rooms and such. And that project is coming in at probably around $150,000 a unit with all of those amenities and with that type of project. And when I hear a project of this nature coming in at $250,000 a unit, I would like to get involved. But I question the use of our tax dollars. I don't know if they're being used the most advantageous way, or we have looked at the market very seriously. From a market standpoint, we're involved in over 3,000 apartments in Artesia, Carlsbad, Hobbs, and Las Cruces. In Las Cruces, we've got probably 1,500 or more apartments here. And of that 1,500, I have about 500 apartments that are renting under $600 a month. So we are covering the market on a pretty broad scale and have a pretty good feel of what should be going on. And it's something that I don't want to table this contract, but I'm asking to take a real serious look at the numbers because they are way different from what private enterprise is doing at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benz. Mr. Baker, would you like to comment on that? Mm-hmm.
Tim Baker, Senior Development Executive. Very cool. Can I get this at home? Needless to say, in my 25 years of experience, this is not the first time I've heard this argument. First of all, on the site specifically, I'm not sure if the gentleman's aware of the site at all, but it is, site-wise, has some challenges to the height, elevations, grading. There's also contamination issues from the plume. So we are going to be doing some grading. We're going to be doing some walls. Secondly, this is Davis-Bacon. Thirdly, 30% of the units are three-bedroom units. Fourth, we have certain guidelines that market rate developers, and being that my dad used to be a market rate developer and all that, don't have to deal with, from sustainability, efficiency, and size. Comparing this to market rate, as much as I would love to build market rate, there's constraints that we face that market rate developers never have to face. And I'll respectfully disagree with the fellow gentleman. It's apples and oranges. As much as I'd like it to be market rate, it's not. You get government involved, has its positives, and we get services, sustainability. We're way above code in terms of what's required to do sustainability, because MFA requires these projects to be really efficient. The negatives, if you will, or positives, is government's involved in terms of design criteria and all that. I play in a box that market rate developers don't play in. And I would love to have a deeper discussion with anybody on that basis and all that. So we are value engineering this project to the hilt. We are getting multiple bids, and unlike market rate developers, our rents are restricted. We can't increase them. However, our operating expenses are market rate. So there's a challenge there that market rate developers don't have to deal with, and so forth. So I respectfully understand the gentleman's position, but completely disagree with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Mr. Diaz?
I guess I'm going to have to lower this thing down. I'm not quite. Oh, that okay, got it. Thank you, Pro Tem Gandera. Would it be possible to get a police report of the units in the different areas they have to see what kind of control they have on crime and what goes on in these units? That would be what I would be interested in.
You need to state your name for the record.
Oh, Mike
Thank you.
Tejas. And yeah, that's what I'd like to know, is what the crime is like in their developments. Are they, do they turn into trap houses? What is the crime rate in those specific areas? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz.
I think I got this down. Tim Baker, Senior Development Executive Director, Chelsea. I'm very open to any police report from any of our projects here in New Mexico, Artesia, Hobbs, Grants, Los Lunas. We're closing deals in Taos and Belen, Rio Rancho, and also here this year. We take great pride in terms of our developments being secure. The tenants basically have 2 chances and then they're out. In terms of that, we do criminal background checks before people, along with employment background checks. For our projects, we tend to have long wait lists. There's no reason why we need to work with somebody that's not going to honor their unit in terms of keeping it clean. Fourth, fifth, in Grants, we invited the police to have a substation in our community center. So they stop there for coffee and doing their reports and all that. And this is the first time I ever had this. When we were doing the rehab work in our project in Grants, 2 police officers stopped during our construction and said, "Thank God you guys are doing this. Thank you very much." So we would welcome if the police would like a substation, have a coffee break, what have you, we would welcome to have you. It'd be terrific. 24-hour, openness, if you will. So we are very open to working with the police as well as fire. It's a relationship that we take very seriously.
Thank you for that, Mr. Baker. Any other public comment? Seeing none. Christine?
Mayor Pro Tem, just
Councilor Bencomo.
That was loud, my apologies. I also do definitely want to challenge private developers. You know, the housing team is always looking for new partnerships for developers who want to build affordable housing. So certainly want to throw that challenge out to anybody who is interested in building more affordable housing, because we certainly need it. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bencomo. Councilor Graham, Christine, I think we're ready.
This is on the motion to approve Resolution 23-088. Councilor Abeyta?
Yes.
Councilor Graham?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Cran?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And the mayor is absent.
Thank you. Next is 7.5, a resolution number 23-089, recommending the city manager to negotiate the leasing of Las Cruces Utilities property for a community solar project. Hi, Adrian.
Hi there.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. Motion made by Councilor Abeyta, second by Councilor Bencomo.
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilors, Adrian Woodmer, Utilities Director, thank you very much, and Happy New Year. We're really excited to talk about this. Back in April in 2021, the New Mexico legislature did enact the Community Solar Act. Since then, we've been working with NMSU on our advancing clean energy, and we've been looking at public sites to actually do a community solar project. The New Mexico PRC, they posted an RFP for developers to actually request to be able to make a community solar project and tie into their infrastructure. And that's one thing that utilities is interested in, although through our transition plan, that's something that we'll be working towards to actually become our own energy developer. But at this point, we don't have that. So in looking at sites, we did have some discussions with Amoresco, and the closing date for the RFP actually with the New Mexico PRC is January 31st. Well, with it being utility property, one of the sites that they were looking at and other sites that we're looking at, we needed to go to the Las Cruces Utilities Board to actually get a recommendation for us to come to you to request to have the city manager actually negotiate with Amoresco for any of those types of leasings. This last Thursday on January 12th, our utility board approved the recommendation to come in front of all of you to request the approval to have the city manager actually sit down and negotiate with Amoresco so that on at least a certain property, they're looking at one particular piece of property, but I left it very general in case that one doesn't pan out, another one may actually be eligible. And so through that, I'll just stand for any questions that you all may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. Any questions? Councilor Curran.
I have a quick question. Thank you, Director Woodmer. I just am curious. I still find community solar slightly incomprehensible, if I'm honest, in how exactly it works and what the benefits are for the community. I'm curious so this seems like a company that's been doing this for a bit. That's my inference from the documents provided in this conversation. If this sort of comes through, what would be the ultimate sort of outcome in terms of diversifying the energy sources for the people of Las Cruces? How many people? What kind of options might it provide? And really, I'm just hoping that you'll educate me, not that this necessarily affects how I feel about this, but I think it's the first time we've really talked about community solar necessarily to take action on, so I'd love to hear a little bit more, please.
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Curran, yes. So thank you very much. So the community solar, what happens is you have a developer come in and, for instance, for this particular one, it's up to 5 megawatts. And out of that 5 megawatts, they develop it, they tie into El Paso Electric's grid. Then from there, 40% of that has to be dedicated to low to moderate income households, and that's where the solar that's generated is providing the electrical power for them. So there'll be, I guess, a subscriber. And so we promise at least 40% of that, 30% can actually be city facilities, and then the rest is open. And so what that's supposed to actually end up doing is that, for instance, Amoresco is going to have a rate that they're going to charge people to actually utilize this amount of solar that they're putting out based on the subscriptions. Theoretically, that's supposed to be cheaper than just regular buying electric from the electric company. So that's how it helps the community in that sense, that the power is going to be cheaper. Then on top of that, it also lowers the greenhouse gas emissions, which is part of our carbon action plan.
Thank you, that really helps. So more of these, the more the better. Is that the general idea? If we're thinking about the community benefit in terms of people being able to buy it and people who have accessible, low to moderate income being able to buy in for more cheaply?
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Kuran, that is correct.
Okay.
So, and that's one of the things as utilities is looking at, part of our transition plan is where there are other places that we then in 2025, when the RFP comes back out again from the PRC, so that we can apply for ourselves. So part of our natural gas and energy line of business is so that we can actually have energy in multiple forms that we can actually provide to the community to lower the greenhouse gas emissions, and at the same time to be competitive and as cheap as possible.
All right. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's
but
quite
thank
all
you
right.
for that presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Karan. Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none for council, what about any public comment?
I either need to sit closer to the front or keep my mouth shut.
You could
Good
sit
afternoon.
closer to the front. We'd love to have you. Please state your name.
This is Eddie Benz again, or speaking at this time. There is no question that we need solar help all over the place we have. In fact, I'm very involved in it, and I currently have 3 projects that are in front of the PRC for solar projects scattered in various locations. These projects that I'm involved in will all be going on private property, paying taxes, ad valorem taxes, and taxes on the structure that goes on it. So I have a question whether the project going on city property would be paying ad valorem taxes or paying taxes ad valorem on the structures that are there, which makes an uncompetitive situation between private enterprise and the city of Las Cruces. Now, part of that will depend on what the city manager negotiates and how it is worded. But it is my concern in following the dollars and the use of our tax dollars and to try to collect the tax dollars as due on projects that are going on in other locations. But it's something that I wanted to call your attention to. There's no question about it. There is a limited number of projects that will be going in New Mexico because there's a limited number of funds that the legislature made available. And as of January the 31st, that process will close and the state PRC will make a selection of the projects which are most desirable or beneficial. So that is part of the process that is going on to pass on that information. As that, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benz. I wasn't aware. So, Adrian, you're in competition with other folks across the state, and how do we jockey into position to make it that ours get funded?
Mayor Pro Tem Adrian Widmer, Utilities Director. Yes, it's going to be quite competitive. And so one of the things that is required as part of the application is the more that you're showing that you are ready to actually, I guess, ready build, shovel ready, the better. And so this is one of them, is to be able to sit down and provide the resolutions from the utility board and from the city council to attach as part of Amoresco's application for additional points in order for them to score as high as they possibly can.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we may, Lisa, I think I keep seeing your hand, but I'm not sure. You want to come up and say something? Yes, please do.
Hello, Mayor Pro Tem Council. This is Lisa LaRock, the Sustainability Officer for the city. I've been working with Adrian Widmer and Amoresco on this project, and I just want to echo what she has to say about the merits of this project, it isn't just about the competition, which is there's about 72 applicants for 6 positions in the El Paso electric territory. It's about providing the lowest rate possible for our low and moderate income people. And the goal that we've set is at least 20% reduction in our electricity costs. And it isn't, although the minimum you can provide is 30%, we're shooting for 50%, and that will be about 500 households. And that's especially valuable for renters, which are the folks that are most at risk of energy burdens, as well as other people who don't have the initial capital to be able to do this. And the ability to have the partnership with Amoresco and the city, having the brownfields, having all of those shovel-ready things that Adrian talked about are really essential to make us more competitive. And the association that this project has with LCU will do a lot to bring forward a new model of, where we're actually doing, from my understanding, this is the only municipal partnership with a community solar project. So it is really significant and unique, and it's a great way to get the foot, for LCU to get their foot in the door. So I just want to say this more for props for Adrian than anything
Thank you,
else.
Lisa, for that. We really appreciate that. Councilor Bencomo.
Thanks, Mayor Pro Tem. I also thank you both very much. I'm very excited about this project, and thank you for mentioning the 2025 goal. Adrian, I also just want to note that this project is so important because going solar is inherently inequitable. It is very expensive to go solar on your home, and so people with means, wealthy folks, will be able to do so. And I think programs like this, Community Solar, are trying to interrupt that and say we are actually going to uplift and ensure that people who are not only most at risk of energy burden, but are also inherently more disproportionately impacted by climate change, are at the center of this transition. And so I think that's why I think it makes this a highly competitive application, and I'm just very excited that we are here and that Las Cruces is getting ready for this. Thanks, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Councilor Bencomo. Anybody else? Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none. Christine.
This is on the motion to approve Resolution 23-089. Councilor Beta?
Yes.
Councilor Graham?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Coran?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And the mayor's absent.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa and Adrian. Next up is 7.7, Council Bill number 23-016, and ordinance number 3022, an ordinance approving a zone change for multiple properties, parcels from A2, C3C, and M2, and C3, and M1, et cetera, et cetera. Hi, David Weir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Abeyta. I'm getting ahead of myself, and second by Councilor Bencomo.
Again, good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council. I'm David Ware, the Community Development Department, and this agenda item is a zone change to facilitate the development of a commercial industrial park along US 70, and also to remove a defunct or legacy zoning district from the property. I'm going to jump ahead in the presentation a little bit. Just to give you an idea where it is at, basically this generally north-south street is Rinconada Boulevard. The general east-west is US 70, Baton Memorial, the two frontage roads. The property is located within this yellow area. And as Mayor Pro Tem noted, it does have multiple zoning districts on it. And so basically the zone change is to bring the zoning districts into the property in conformance with the intended development. Just to give you, again, some background, there are existing multiple parcels on that. There are also a proposal to modify those lot lines. And again, this is just to bring the property into compliance with the intended development. The parcel is partially developed. There is one business located on it. The rest is vacant, so it will be developed in the future. Again, these are the zoning categories. When I go to the zoning map, I can give you a little better idea. I think it's a little clearer when you have a picture than having to read all these words, or at least it was for me. This is the existing zoning on the property. Again, it's generally the same map with the street locations. The yellow area is the property subject to this zone change. The pinkish color is an existing M2. The green is an A2, which is an agricultural or holding district, and that's the one that's no longer in our zoning code. This other pinkish color is C2, and then the granular pink is C3C. This map is actually what zoning is being proposed. The area in white is currently zoned M1, M2, and it will remain that way. There's no zone change for that particular parcel. The property in this square is currently zoned A2. It proposes a zone change of C2, which is our general commercial. Generally, the lot size has to be an acre or less. This greenish square is it's the property that has the most categories on it. It has that A2, which is that now defunct zone. It currently is zone C2, and it's also zoned M1, M2. So the proposal is to bring this all into a C3 zoning district, which is our larger community-wide commercial category. The yellow property currently has a C3 and a C2 zoning on it. The proposal is to move that to an M12. That's also the parcel that has the existing structure, which has commercial and light industrial uses on the property. Again, this describes what I tried to explain to you with the graphic, so I'd be happy to go back if you want me to go through it. When this was reviewed by staff, it was sent out to our reviewing departments internally and also to our partners like New Mexico Highway Department or DOT, Department of Transportation. All persons that reviewed this were in support of the zone changes presented. Notice was sent out to adjacent property owners, and we did not receive any input in regards to anybody protesting or supporting the zone change. Therefore, staff did recommend approval of this zone change. It was based on the intent of the zoning ordinance, compliance with Elevate Las Cruces, and the existing development and nature of the adjacent properties in the area. They made this recommendation to the Planning and Zoning Commission. The Planning and Zoning Commission also reviewed this and made a recommendation. I think I jumped a slide. They heard this in July. Again, there was no public input at the time. The commission reviewed the staff report and endorsed the recommendation by my staff and approved it unanimously with one member absent. So coming forward, again, there's a recommendation approval. I can go back to any of those graphics if you have any questions or answer any other questions, but you have your standard options. The applicant is present if you have any questions for them also.
Are there any questions?
I just have...
Councilor Curran.
Thank you. This is my district and actually arguably my backyard-ish. I just have a quick question. I think I wince every time I see these crazy graphics of our old-timey development code with seemingly arbitrary numbers for parcels that are clearly homogeneous in nature. So it's wild to me. I just have a quick question about going forward. Is this the sort of thing that will be corrected? And I know I always ask you about this by Realize Las Cruces, and please say yes.
Mayor Pro Tem and Councilor Curran, that is one of the biggest things we want to accomplish with Realize. We have not only an update to our development codes, but as a part of that project, we have a citywide rezoning map to take place that would be endorsed. So we would not have these defunct, or I'll never say never, but the intent is to never have any of these defunct parcels where you have to have these type of corrective zone changes going forward.
Thank you so much. I am really glad to hear that. I can't wait for Realize to come forward. So thank you again.
Anybody else on the dais? Public comment? No, no, Mr. Benz, please come if you'd like to say. Please come up. No? Okay. Going once, going twice? Okay, no. Okay, Christine.
This is on the motion to approve ordinance 3022. Counselor Beta?
Yes.
Counselor Graham?
Yes.
Counselor Bencomo?
Yes.
Counselor Cran?
Yes.
Counselor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And the mayor is absent.
Thank you, Christine. Okay, board appointments next on the agenda. I see none. There's one? Wait. We're gonna there's two pieces of paper.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dee.
Okay, oh yes. A board appointment is for Realize Las Cruces Advisory Ad Hoc Committee, Luis Rios.
Move to
New
approve, please.
appointment. Motion made by Councilor Coran.
Second.
Second by Councilor Abeta. Christine?
This is on the motion to appoint Luis Rios to the Realize Las Cruces Ad Hoc Committee. Counselor Beta?
Yes.
Counselor Graham?
Yes.
Counselor Bencomo?
Yes.
Counselor Cran?
Yes.
Counselor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And the mayor is absent.
Thank you, Christine. Next is notice of proposed ordinances. 9.1.
Bring it forward.
Thank you. Councilor Ben, I've never done this part. Councilor Benco, do I have to repeat? Councilor Benco has brought it forward. Okay, good. 9.2, Council Bill number 23019.
Bring it forward.
Thank you. And next up is item 10, City Council Member Board Reports and Comment. Okay. Gosh, I have a bit of a laundry list of concerns and issues, and I will start with utilities. I've received a number of emails with the increase of gas prices, and some of my constituents are paying triple what they normally pay. One of them, and I'll be sending an email to Adrian about her bill being over $400. And when they called the utilities explained that the I wrote it on. Decatherm is now currently $13.71, when a year ago it was $5.94. And so her request is to renegotiate the gas prices. And so I got to thinking that people are not aware, Ifo, after we had that major freeze, the way the city negotiates gas prices. And so I thought I would recommend that either we have Adrian, and I see her walking up here, but maybe a work session that explains how we are negotiating. I don't know if it's daily, I don't know if it's weekly, how we negotiate those gas prices regularly. It's just not like we are going for the highest. We try to go for the lowest, as Ifo, as you explained to me several years back. So Adrian, would you like to help me out on this?
Mayor Pro Tem, Adrian Widmer, Utilities Director, thank you very much. And it was very interesting because Councilor Coran sent me an email this morning saying, oh, I'm sorry, Graham. Yes. I'm sorry, Becky slapped me. I'm sorry.
Becky with an I.
Oh, that's true. Becky Y, Becky I. Oh, yeah. So in going through that today, there was a discussion, and we had actually spoken with the utility board last Thursday to talk about that, and we're putting an insert into everyone's billing, and depending on what cycle they're actually on for their billing cycle is when they'll actually get it. And so typically, and I can actually take the email from Commissioner Graham and forward it to you all so that you're completely aware, is that we do order our base load every month, and then we try to get the peaks. We look a few days ahead, and order it, and that's kind of how that works. If you order too much and you don't use it, then you pay penalties. So our gas analyst, Mario Puentes, he's been doing this for decades, and he's very good at it. Unfortunately, one of the main places that we get our gas is from the El Paso natural gas pipeline that comes out of the Permian Basin. Well, they've been having maintenance issues with their pipes. So there's only so much gas that they can send to us. Well, the cheapest gas is also coming out of the Permian, which is like super cheap, which is part of what a lot of people are saying, that this is what our prices used to be. Well, we have no other choice but to get gas from the San Juan Basin, which is, in this case, like at least 3 times higher. Now, one of the things that Utilities is offering is that if someone feels like this is going to cause hardship, if they'll just get with customer service, billing and receivables, we can sit down and work out an actual payment plan. The original costs associated with the very large storm, all of those have been paid back. So this is, we're back on even ground right now. So, but I can certainly forward the email that I sent to Councilor Graham, and then we're more than willing to have a work session with you to go over it as to how that works.
Yeah, I really appreciate you explaining that a little more in detail, Adrian. I know that I didn't understand that until the freeze happened, and just trying to get, ahead of the game for some of the questions that could come up. So those are things that I don't think that our constituents really understand. So going back to your comment about the maintenance issues at the Permian Basin, where we're used to getting our gas, is there anything that we can do to help, or when you talk about maintenance issues, can you be a little more specific? And are our hands tied? Are we unable to really do anything more to assist them? Is it it feels ambiguous to me.
Mayor Pro Tem, thank you very much. So they ended up having a rupture in one of their lines like last year, and then which then puts them under regulatory requirements to get a bunch of stuff done and then report back, and then kind of like work with the federal government. The nice thing is just this very last week, probably like on Friday, they had completed all repairs, and they've turned the paperwork into the regulators, who then come down and take a look at it for inspection. If everything turns out, then they'll be able to go ahead and add additional pressure and provide the natural gas as they previously did. So right now, it's a temporary thing. They just happen to have a blowout, which lowered the amount of pressure that they could actually provide in their lines. So they kind of put them in a difficulty in providing more than
what they're used to doing,
what
we're used to buying. Okay.
And so we've always gotten our natural gas, some from the Permian, some from the San Juan. It just so happens that the Permian is a lot cheaper and San Juan's a lot more expensive this year.
Yes.
And also to tell our customers that it's not our rates that are causing, the high cost. It's actually the cost of gas, because that's just a pass-through.
Yes.
So we don't make any money on it. Whatever we're paying for the gas is what gets passed on to the consumer.
Yes. I think those are all very important things to explain in greater detail. Would it help then, good to know about the feds coming down, whoever the inspectors are, would it help to inform our federal delegation that this has happened, that we're waiting for the inspectors to come down, and that they need to pressure, this needs to happen immediately, not, I don't know how quickly folks come down, schedule their inspections to come down, but this feels emergent, and so I'm thinking that we should have some sort of letter to our federal delegation informing them that this has happened and that we're requesting that this get taken care of quickly so we can go back to receiving that, although, as you mentioned, it's not going to solve the problem because gas is so expensive right now.
Mayor Pro Tem, yes, gas is expensive, either way. And it's just like any other regulatory issue. Once you file the paperwork, then you wait for the regulatory to come and do their inspection. If you don't ask, you don't get. So we can certainly work with our natural gas consultant. He's kind of like on our legal team for that, to see if we write a letter, will that assist, or would it actually end up just putting their feet in the mud? Because you never know what kind of response you're going to get from regulators. But I think all we can do is be as transparent as we can. This is unfortunately the price of natural gas right now. It's a pass-through. If you're having a hard time paying the bill, or you would like to have a payment plan, we're more than willing to do that. But all of the Southwest is dealing with this right now. It's just not us.
Thank you, Adrian. I would like to have a letter. I'm asking that we replenish or increase the fund that we have to pay for, utilities, gas, and the like. So water, I think that's something that we really need to look at, because I don't know about anybody else, but paying close to over $400 for gas and water is astronomical, and it's going to make it very difficult for many of our families here in Las Cruces. Ifo, did you want to say something? I felt like you wanted to say more about that.
Yeah, if I may, Mayor Pro Tem, just to add to what Adrian is saying, and just to make sure it's clear. So when we talk about negotiating our gas prices, I think it's important to understand we have, like Adrian mentioned, our base load purchase. So we've purchased that block. In fact, I think we have contracts in place that secure some of that prevent fluctuations in that. So we've gotten as secure as we can be. What we're talking about is peak. And so when you get the cold front, when you get throughout the country, the demand is higher naturally. And so what we're talking about is just that the difference between what our base load is and what the fluctuations are in our demand. And so that's where we're open to the market. We're left open to the market. If we were going to go and purchase blocks to try and speculate, then it gets pretty risky, because like Adrian mentioned, if we over-purchase, then we're stuck with it and we have to pay. And so we have to go off what our base demand is. And maybe as we're moving forward, and I'm sure, there's a lot smarter people in our gas looking at this than I am, but maybe we look at in the future, we look at increasing that base load, but we're right in the middle of that battle right now. So it's really about managing that demand, and really we're really subject to the market. And so right now, I know that's hard to explain to the residents, but I think the only thing would be is to contemplate something where we can look at assisting, but that'll certainly have to come from the general fund, as it has been in the past, and not from the utilities. But I think if that can be, we're all getting emails. And just for more information for your background, to be able to explain exactly what it is, because especially with the question of can we negotiate, they're looking at, every year they're negotiating prices, but it's this peak, it's the fluctuation that we have no opportunity to negotiate.
As confusing and convoluted as all of that is, I appreciate, Adrian, your words. I think being transparent with the public about what exactly is happening, explaining it, since many ways that we can, not only in inserts at our bill, but also on a press release, on our social media accounts, and having something to be able to write. Like you said, I'll share what I've said to Commissioner Graham. I think that would be very helpful. And again, I'm asking because I not only negotiating your payment plans, but also this fund that we replenish every budget cycle, right, every year. I think we're going to have to consider replenishing that sooner rather than later. And those are things I'd like for us to consider moving forward.
Mayor Pro Tem, I totally concur with you, and right now that particular fund has a balance of $112,000. And so that is another thing that, sure, we'll look at the payment plan, but obviously those that are low income, that are really struggling, there is the 112 that is still in that fund so far.
Thank you, Adrian, for that.
You're welcome.
And then I want to speak again about the hygiene stations, so just getting an idea of where we're at, what needs to happen to get these off the ground. I'd like just a update on that, EFO, if we can. And then I'm very excited about the storefront repair program. I think this is going to be very helpful to our businesses, especially as we move forward. I agree with Councilor Bengomo that this is just a Band-Aid, and we need to look at a few other preventative programming. Also, in our discussion at the PRC, we talked about staff looking at other grants that don't connect us to the anti-donation. So from a federal standpoint, looking at grants that help our businesses so that we can continue to utilize this particular program. And then lastly, I had mentioned a month or so ago about wanting to re-examine the Mesilla Valley Housing Authority resolution. Our Sergio has done that and sent it to me last week. I'd like to propose to moving that to our Housing Policy Review Committee. Councilor Bengomo, I think that would be a good opportunity to look at that in earnest. So I'll work with you, Councilor Bengomo, to get it on the agenda, not this week because we have our meeting tomorrow, I think, but for the following month. And then just happy MLK Day. I went to the event, the breakfast on Monday, and man, it was phenomenal. It was so energizing, and you know, it's Martin Luther King Jr.'s words just resonate with me, especially around using love and thinking about how not only would we love our family members, but loving people we don't know and doing things with love. It's a lot to live up to, but I'm certainly up for the task. So with that, I'll turn it over to Councilor Flores.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Adrian, I do have a question for you, and maybe address this also to Mr. Peely. So, you know, I was out of town for about 3 weeks or so, a little more than 3 weeks. In the meantime, I received a bill from utilities, and when I went to pick up my mail, I presumably was sent a bill while I was out of town. When I collected my mail at the post office, there wasn't a bill there. There was a letter telling me that my utilities would be cut off by January 26 if I didn't pay $197 immediately, which, you know, I went online and paid it through my bank. But you know, and fortunately I have that amount. But I thought it was a harsh letter. I mean, I just thought, you know, what if it's, you know, someone who didn't receive the initial bill and all of a sudden they get this bill, and 197 is extraordinarily high for me. But I just thought, you know, well, yeah, gas prices are high, yada, yada. But I just thought the letter was a little harsh. You know, it's like, I'm happy, I mean, I'm happy to pay my bills. I pay my bills on time. But you know, just as a matter of policy, you know, first of all, I never even got my bill. You know, for some reason, it just, maybe the post office threw it in somebody else's, you know, mail hold. But Adrian, so once the Permian Basin fiasco is taken care of, will the gas rates go down a little? Because that's been, will we be able to get our source back instead of going to San Juan?
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Flores, Adrian Whitmer, Utilities Director. It should give us an opportunity to buy more out of the Permian as opposed to the San Juan.
Okay, so the prices should go down a little.
We certainly hope so, and I think that may actually help once they get up and running. There's not going to be the same kind of pressure because it is, I mean, it's supply and demand.
Of course, of course.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, and in regards to your bills, so I will have that looked into because usually there's some kind of notices of reminder. I believe there's at least 2 or 3 reminders before they send that. So if you still have that letter, I would love to have it so that I can pass that on and we can look into that specifically for you.
Yeah, I did bring it and left it on my desk upstairs, but I'll walk it over to you.
Great.
Or, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
But I mean, I'm very fortunate that I'm able to do that. But I think of other people who, you know, may be out of town longer than that, and then they return on January 26th to find that they don't have their, you know, utilities working. You know, so thank you, Adrian.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And the other, I also would like to share that I was at the Martin Luther King breakfast yesterday, and I brought the program because the keynote speaker was Sergeant Jamar Cotton. He's with the Doña Ana Sheriff's Department, and he was really powerful and just a lovely, lovely human being. And what he's doing is he's working with youth. And so he had his, the youth group, or I hope it was it was, I think there were maybe about a dozen children. And, you know, I think they were middle school. And 5 or 6 of them read the principles of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and to live by those principles. And of course, as Mayor Pro Tem mentioned, the prevailing theme was love, and that was Dr. King's dream. And it was very moving, but in all, it was a wonderful, and Mayor Ken Miyagishima actually read the history of it all, and it was actually President Reagan, who declared January 15 federal holiday. And of course, if it falls on a Sunday, it's the following Monday. So it was absolutely lovely. It's nice to be back in Las Cruces. It was wonderful seeing my grandchildren. And I want to wish Tessa Abeda a happy birthday. Today is her birthday. And yeah, so that's it for today. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Flores. Councilor Curran?
Thank you. I also want to wish my fellow Capricorn a happy birthday. Capricorns do it up very strategically and with a lot of forethought. Yes, we do. Crazy.
It was Councilor Curran's birthday about a week and a half ago,
Yes.
so happy birthday to her too.
I'm glad we were both born. I don't know. Yes, he did. I just have a couple of notes. One is very specific to my district. The Red Hawk Golf Club Road south of Arroyo will be closed through about Thursday of this week for some work that they're doing on housing developments there. So there are detour signs available already. It started today. So I wanted to give a note to the folks in my district about that. And then I have kind of another note to sort of the folks around Las Cruces, and I've been thinking about this a lot and thinking about rhetoric and the kinds of rhetoric that we promote and where that leads us and where we can end up. And so there have been a number of recent, there was one very proximate high-profile situation where someone took into their own hands following someone who was perceived to have committed a crime, and we heard about the sad outcome of that. In addition, in Albuquerque, we heard about the outcome of people who were elected to office, engaging in conversations and then having their homes shot up as a result of those conversations, which we all hear about and feel in our own worlds. But I want to point out sort of how our rhetoric and the rhetoric that might appear here in our public meetings, and then even more to things that are happening right now in our community. I know that there are folks outside of the high schools right now sort of shouting with signs, some reports of recording the students going into the high schools and kind of in an aggressive way, shaming students, in particular LGBTQ students. And I do want to point out that, first of all, I'm confident those folks aren't from here, because I know that the city of Las Cruces is better than that. And also that I want to point out to the people in Las Cruces, or sort of say to the kids in particular that are that are being subjected to that right now when they're going into school, those folks don't represent any of us. We're here to support you, and we want a better future for our kids, and I hope that those same high school students are up here and are able to sort of counteract any of that rhetoric that's built up around them. But I would also say to the folks who are there screaming in their megaphones at children, I would urge you to come and talk to us as adults if you have a beef, because frankly, it's pretty horrifying to go and yell at children through megaphones, screaming and telling them that they're sinners. We see you. You don't belong here. But we're happy to hear you come talk to us as adults in a public forum where we can sort of use our rhetorical strategy to say, we reject everything that you stand for. So I just want to put that out there. Our rhetoric matters. And the city of Las Cruces, I believe that we can be positive and supportive and live up to the idea of justice as the holiday suggests. So I hope that we do.
Beautifully said, Councillor Coran, thank you so much. And I did want to also note just the arrest of the man in Albuquerque yesterday that had shot up the homes of our fellow colleagues in elected office, and that had me pretty shook, honestly, as someone who lives with a teenager and someone who often works from home, and just that serving in public office is hard enough, to now have to be worried about our physical safety is just deeply concerning. And so I just wanted to extend some solidarity to our colleagues up in Albuquerque. Shifting quite hard. I did want to note that we have a housing PRC meeting tomorrow at 2:00 on the second floor. I will be hosting a neighborhood meeting at Legends West with Parks and Rec and Public Works and Utilities? No, that might be it, and Codes, I think. At Legends West at Picacho Middle School tomorrow at 6 p.m. for folks who live in that neighborhood, if they want to come voice any concerns. I did want to bring up a couple of pieces of legislation that I know are relevant to public safety conversations we've been having here at City Council that I was recently made aware of, that I think I just wanted to let you all know these are happening. There is legislation being presented at this legislative session to expand access to medication for addiction treatment. in correctional facilities. So for our jail to commit to actually using medication for addiction treatment that can actually help people wean off of substance abuse before they get out, and then hopefully can get additional support. It's also my understanding that there is a commission under the New Mexico Supreme Court that is working to address mental health issues and the intersection of criminal justice work, and they are also working on a bill to address issues around competency and people who are deemed incompetent and sort of what happens after that. So I know that there's a commission under the New Mexico Supreme Court working on issues of competency. And then lastly, I know that Jamie Michaels had come to council before to talk to us about a piece of legislation that they are working on with Senator Ortiz y Pino around the licensing regulations for crisis triage centers that they say that they are only to be used for voluntary purposes, and they're looking to change those regulations to allow for both voluntary and involuntary admissions. So those, I think, are really critical pieces of legislation that will have a huge impact on the people of Las Cruces and what we've been seeing in recent months. So I wanted to just note those for everybody. I do want to request information from MRVDA. Also, it's always so weird to say MRVDA because it's not necessarily spelled that way. MRVDA, I know, it's true. Anyway, I would like information from MRVDA regarding calls that can be diverted to 988, and that information, I want to know how MRVDA is going to work with Project Light and that whole situation so that we can get the right first responder to the right emergency EFO. And so whether that's a work session or a report that can be presented, but I really do want us to better understand how 911 dispatch is better collaborating with 988 and crisis intervention so that we can get the right folks to the right place. Lastly, I just want to give obviously a huge shout out to the Animal Service Shelter because last Friday, my family and I went in and we adopted a new pup. As of Friday, it was a week. So her name is Lola. She is, I think, like a lab boxer mix. And she is a troublemaker, and I couldn't be happier to have adopted a new pup into our family. So we have two. Our other little Santo, who also came from the shelter, is not having it with his little sister. So we're working with the Humane Society, who provides a free trainer for people who have pets and might want to do that. Especially if you adopted them from the shelter, they will work with you. And so, but I just wanted to extend my gratitude to the staff at the shelter who do such a phenomenal job. It is really hard going there and looking for a pet. It's heartbreaking just how many animals there are. And so, thanks to a wonderful anonymous donor who helped us pay for our adoption fee, I went and go ahead and sponsored somebody else, and my check cleared on the 11th, so I'm hoping that means a pet got adopted and I was able to pay for that adoption. So thank you to the Animal Service Shelter. Thanks. That's it for me.
I love that, Councilor Bencomo. I've been following you on TikTok and your story, and it's the cutest, and I'm praying for Santos. That's all I'll say. Councilor Graham.
For me too. Thank you. Actually, perfect segue, and we were just talking about that word, segue, yeah. I sit on the MRVDA board, and actually, Jamie Michaels was a recent presenter, and we were privy to some of the information that you were talking about, so I know it's there, is being formulated, and have got to hear a bit firsthand. You know, this is a significant paradigm shift, the move to 988. I know MIRVDA is very committed to doing the training. You know, we got to see some of the materials that are in each call taker station, kind of like a small decision tree of where should a call be routed. So I know that good work is ongoing, and I would also welcome a work session, Mayor Pro Tem and City Manager. I would love for everyone to get to see how that is going. Speaking of great developments in behavioral health, actually just about 30 minutes ago, an event wrapped up. Mayor Pro Tem, I'm sure you're aware of this one, because FYI Plus, NMSU, DACC, and Apple had what sounded kind of like maybe a little hackathon, or getting some people together to see how we can improve behavioral health resource access and outcomes through some mobile app development. So I'm going to be really excited to hear about the outcome. I wish I could have been there. Not saying I wish I could have been there instead of being here, but no, I'm just kidding. So yeah, that just happened today, so very cool. And also had a great meeting with our community schools board. There's some very exciting news coming out that I'm not able to divulge quite yet. I know, right? I love being that person, like vague booking up here. So it's just wonderful to see how the community schools group is continuing to develop and dealing with the whole student, families, and neighborhoods. And I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Graham. Councillor Abeyta.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you all for the birthday wishes. And once again, a happy birthday as well to my colleague, Becky. So we are Capricorns, and that tracks pretty well. I have a few updates. One is from Mavita. We did have a meeting today. Mid-year reports are going to be coming out. I should be receiving one towards the end of the week. When I do, I will forward that to Christine so that everybody is able to get a copy of that report. Tomorrow will be an oversight meeting. We will be getting an update about the Inspector General hiring process and update. And we'll also be going over the accountability and governance ordinance and possible revisions. And this is one that I would suggest for my colleagues, especially those that are new, to look back over the revision. I will say Christine is an expert, so if there are questions, unfortunately, I am going to direct them towards Mr. Bealey and to our wonderful city clerk if you have any questions on that. So as we look, it was a new ordinance. If there's things that we need to look at to tailor, we want to make sure to get your input as well. And then we are going to be having another OIR group report here in a bit, a third presentation. One of the suggestions that I made during this group is to also have a report from our PD at the same time so that we're able to kind of be able to have more questions answered and or have the department respond to some of the issues that are brought up in the OIR report. So I just think those kind of go along together well for one session. And then it is the legislative session started today, so that's exciting. I will just give an update on some of the items with the Municipal League. There are a series, 6 of the key priorities this year. I will just list them quickly, but if anybody has other comments and or questions, please feel free to reach me afterwards. But they are increasing funding for statewide EMS from what is now $2.8 million to about $10 million, increasing the firefighter survivors benefits to $1 million, and this will be in alignment with what the Municipal League did last year for peace officers survivors benefits, supporting public safety agencies' implementation of the statewide public safety radio network, creating a database to track incidences of excessive use of force and other serious violations from law enforcement officers, using motor vehicle excise tax revenues to invest in statewide road infrastructure, and this will include adding additional $140 million annually to the road funds, and of course, investing state funds strategically into local airport infrastructure. And thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Those are all my comments.
Thank you, Councilor Abeyta. Mr. Peely.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. First, just a couple of events. The Power Up Expo at the Las Cruces Convention Center. Just a reminder, it's this Friday, January 20th from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. and then Saturday, January 21st from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Lisa LaRocque and Sustainability Office have mobilized community partners to host. This will be the first annual Power Up Expo. This is an opportunity to hear from builders of all electric homes, test the best electric appliances, talk with energy-saving retailers, and receive estimates for converting your living and working spaces to energy-reducing equipment. There's also a rumor that a flash mob may occur, the electric boogie or electric slide. We'll see. You have to. And then at the same time, there's two events going on. The other event is the New Mexico State Aggie Bowl celebration. It's in the plaza. Again, free for the public, just as well as the Power Expo. It's free for the public. Cities partner with NMSU to host the Aggie Bowl celebration. It'll be from 12 noon to 1 p.m. And the event opens with the Aggie football team and marching band performing the Aggie Walk procession through the farmers market, starting from City Hall and ending at the plaza. There will be free posters, shirt giveaways, autograph signings, and more. What time? 12 to 1 p.m. And then just a couple of items. Barbara reminded me when we talked about, Mayor Pro Tem, when you mentioned the comment about monitoring legislation, she reminded me that during this legislative session, we are going to have updates, and we are monitoring these bills. For example, we've already put Larry on notice to monitor the minimum wage bill that's going through, and there's others that we'll be providing regular updates this session. And then I just wanted to mention, Mayor Pro Tem, I apologize, I don't have much of an update for the hygiene stations, where right now we need a scope of work. And we were trying to figure out whether or not we had to bid this out. And so we're still trying to figure that out through procurement, and I still need to pull in legal on that to give us some guidance. But the next step is getting that scope of work over. It is a little tricky because if we use, one of these potential, I think we talked about FY, if we use them to give us a scope of work and we have to go out to bid, then there's a conflict there. So we're still trying to figure it out. We'll probably, hopefully have more of an update by the end of this week on that. Trying to see what else, just from your comments that I need to address. I think Councilor Graham addressed your comment, Councilor Bencomo, about the MRVDA. There is a lot of work being done. Chief's been working with them, and I'm excited about that movie. But we'll save that for a work session if needed. Okay. I think that's all I have, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peely. Okay, that looks like we have moved through all the agenda items, so can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved by Flores.
Second, Abeyta.
Motion made by Councilor Flores, second by Councilor Abeyta. Christine.
This is on the motion to adjourn the meeting. Councilor Abeyta?
Yes.
Councilor Graham?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Cran?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And the mayor is absent.
Thank you, Christina.